Hello everyone, and welcome to a little discussion video, or stream, whichever version you're watching. With me, MB, Michael, whatever you want to call me, and Owen, or Lego Dog 2001, is that right?
You can call me that, you can call me Gnosis, you can call me Owen, anything's fine.
Awesome.
Alright, how am I sounding?
You're sounding fine, I think, I hope. I mean, you're the one who probably can check the audio a bit better.
Let me check that real quick before we get started.
Yeah.
We're gonna go for an hour, and then I need to go do something for maybe like 30, 40 minutes. We'll see what happens there.
Yep. And then we'll probably come back and continue talking.
That is the plan, and hopefully we'll be done by midnight. Because I have 8 a.m.s tomorrow, so... Well,
awesome.
3 hours from now.
Sounds good. Alright.
Okay. So, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Let's talk about it.
Yes, hello. We made a list of things we wanted to cover, right? So,
yeah,
let me...
There are 4 major things we wanted to do. I wanted to talk about story, combat, world building, / level design, and you want to talk about music, I think.
Yes. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? I can't think of any other, like, major umbrella aspects that we could potentially talk about, right?
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you have chat up, Owen, but I will probably, I think Brian said he's going to come along, but if anyone else comes along, we'll probably just chat. This is going to be pretty chill, I think, overall.
Yeah, like, if anyone says anything, then we'll answer any questions. I feel like this is also really good, like, Q&A of, like, what we think about the game. But...
yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's nothing major. This is chill. I mean, this is gonna be very low key. So.
Yeah. All right.
If any, also I apologize if you hear rumbling in the background. That is my Pro Controller auto grinding for me. So.
Yes, Owen has Xenoblade 3 up auto grinding. Hello, Brian. Welcome to the stream. Was the YouTube mirror even working? It should be. I don't know if it isn't, but
it's not worth it right now.
It's probably better on Twitch.
Yeah.
In terms of the chatting experience. Anyway, hello. I have the game up here. We're just going to probably auto-run through a bunch of areas or whatever. I'm not going to really focus on it. We're just going to be talking most of the time.
Before we even talk about anything, I feel like we should at least acknowledge the fact that this game has insane presentation values.
Yes. I think it should go without saying that, like, just the visuals, it's probably the best looking game on Switch. I don't think we need to touch on graphics that much.
Yeah, I don't think it's just not worth it. I think that they do, like, I think that there are costs that come with some of the the visual pushings that they do. Like, they do the Final Fantasy VII remake thing of transitioning instantly from cutscene to boss fight. They do that a couple of times. They do, and there's like, enemies are a lot bigger than usual, very detailed. Everything just generally looks great. There's an entire area with an airship equivalent. It's very, and the areas in general, like the space between, there are not that many loading screens in the game if you don't fast travel or skip travel. So that is all amazing, but it does come out some hiccups, like the fact that enemies have to reset whenever you run away from them. That's kind of annoying. And I can't really think of anything else. And I guess the Switch runs kind of hot if you play it in handheld, but
so that's... So my Switch, every time I load up the game, it has to fucking the fans like rev up like a car engine for a bit, and then it kind of calms down after a bit. I don't know if that's just me.
I actually haven't had too many experiences where the fan's gotten really loud. But
that happens whenever I start the game.
I've had times where it gets really hot.
Yeah.
But there are times where it definitely takes there's areas in this game where it takes major frame dips. I feel like we're like, not frame dips, but like the frame rate like kind of cuts in half almost or something. Maybe it's the resolution. There's something that takes a hit. I don't remember which area it is in.
Right. I have noticed frame drops. It's nothing significant. I felt like this game ran pretty stable. Like, it was pretty stable most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's stable. It hasn't been inconsistent. I just feel like the base frame rate kind of like lowers a bit, or maybe the base resolution lowers a bit in certain areas that it just can't handle. I think that maybe some parts of Fornus have this issue the hardest, I think. Everything else is
it mostly in Fornus, I think, actually. I actually think Faunus was probably the place I felt it most in. Now I think about it.
Yeah, it's there. I think Fornus is. Cadencia is the biggest region in the game, but I think Fornus is the biggest, most like diverse area of the game with so many different environments and textures they have to load in. So I guess it's understandable. And there's a lot of grass, which I feel like is the.
Well, they do the same thing with Xenoblade 2, where you only see like grass in a specific radius around you.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny, like walking through and just seeing like grass disappear as you're walking through.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't notice it unless you're actually paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But you can see it, even like now as I'm auto walking through Everblight Plain at the moment on the game. You can kind of see it. It's like the little shrubs here and there are kind of phasing into existence. Definitive Edition and 2 also had disappearing in grass. That's correct.
That's not a complaint, really. I just think it's something funny to talk about.
No, it's fun to make note of. It's not like it breaks the game or anything.
Nah. Yeah, but I think in general the game is a technical triumph. I think that what they were able to achieve visually is very impressive. And I don't know where the size of the world is in comparison to X, but I know it's definitely bigger than 1 and 2. So
yeah, I felt like this is. Well, first of all, the game released in a much more complete state than 2 did on release, I think.
Yes, I would say a more stable state. I wouldn't say complete. I think 2 was complete on release. It was just really
yeah,
it was just really unstable.
I mean, depends what you define as complete. I think in hindsight, like, I didn't feel like Xenoblade 2 wasn't complete on release, but in hindsight, I'm like, oh, they didn't have New Game Plus, they didn't have all these other settings, quality of life wasn't super great, and it's not like it was incomplete on release, it was just like the bare minimum to get from start to end without feeling like something is missing.
At least couch items worked in that game, though.
Yeah, I guess. Do you have that skip travel thing that was worse than 3? What do you mean?
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Do you mean like the when you press the button to open the menu?
Like where it takes a minute to load up? I think press
X, it defaulted to the full list of areas. See, now I have the opposite problem in 3. I
actually kind of prefer how 2 was before the update. I really did.
Yeah.
It was annoying at first, but you quickly get used to it, and now I really miss it, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
because...
so, I guess since we're on the topic, we may as well talk about mechanics, like just general quality of life stuff we like in 3 and whatnot, because with 3, my issue is you have a shortcut function to open the map, which is ZL and X, but it opens the area map, but you can't go back to the full list of areas. If you want to open the full map, you have to go to the main menu, and then you have to click map from the main menu to get the full list of areas. Whereas in Xenoblade 2, initially you would just open up straight to the full list of areas, right? But then when they changed it in an update, you'd go straight to the area you're in, which is great, but then you have to press B to get back to the full list of areas. And because Xenoblade 2 has you wait like 5 seconds every time you select something in the menu, that got a lot more frustrating, because you had to go back and then back in to a different area, which added to the time in the quick travel menus.
I think the most difficult part about the entire thing is if like Xenoblade 1 has this exact same system, right? And like it works fine in that game. But the reason why it doesn't work here is because this game does not have layered maps. It treats each individual layer as its own area.
That's true.
So really, if it was, for example, just like you wanted to switch between major regions, right? Between Fornus or Aetia or Cadencia or any of those, that would be fine. I would have no issue. But the issue is that if you want to, there's a very distinct difference between trying to get to Upper Aetia and Lower Aetia, or Upper Machna, or the Lower Machna Wildwood, and Colony Lambda, and the rest of that region.
Colony Lambda makes me cry.
That one is kind of like, it is more efficient to walk out of Colony Lambda than to open the menu to skip travel.
Yeah, in most instances. Yeah. Brian's saying you can set the full map instead of area map. Can you do that? Is that a setting in Xenoblade 3?
That is setting. I didn't notice any.
I didn't notice.
I've gone through the settings pretty extensively, and I have not seen it.
Okay. But yeah, I think overall though, it is... Okay, hold on, I'm gonna check this. Let's have this up right now. System options. Is it in... Is it in game? What do you mean, wait, what? No, you can change your shortcuts. Wait, you can? Did you? Probably Owen might know that. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't. I know. I didn't know that you could do that.
I didn't know you could do that, actually. I don't know where you can do that. Did you not know how you can change your shortcuts? No. No. Wait, hang on. Where do I do that? Control guide?
Why would I ever... No, the control guide just gives you a list of the controls.
Where is it? Where do I do that?
I don't know.
I haven't found it. Hold down ZL on the field. Edit shortcuts, press plus. What the fuck? It's right here. I don't know if you're watching my stream.
Wow, that is really hidden away.
That is hidden away. That is incredibly... I feel like a lot of the like, okay, that's the one thing I think. I think the UI is overall better than most games, but there's a lot of sneaky hidden menu options and settings that you won't get unless you actively look for it. Like, I've known... You know what the funny thing is? I've seen so many people go like, hey, I didn't know you could change who you're using in a chain attack. They just didn't press left or right. I don't understand how that happens. But then you see like other stuff like this one where it's like edit shortcuts. Like when you hold ZL, it's right in the bottom right corner. I'm never looking there. I'm looking at the bigger stuff. It's like, yeah.
The game does have issues like this, like the fact that they never teach you that you can press the R stick down to dodge roll.
Yes. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the tips menu, which is all
like that was the first time I learned about it, like through loading tips, which actually I do really enjoy the loading screen tips. It's been very helpful.
I hadn't done. Oh yeah, the loading screen tips are nice, but I looked through all the tips on my own, so it's like, I already saw it. It was just nice reminders for some tips, right?
Yeah. Like some of them, like you don't know exactly what the difference between burst and smash is early on, so having that come up much later is like, oh, okay, now I understand why I'd want to use burst versus smash. That's helpful.
I mean, I feel like they should have given you that tutorial when you got burst on... Which class was it? Was it Teacher's class? I think it was Teacher's class's talent art has burst. Because you get the tutorial for launch and smash, I think, when you get Ethel. You get the tutorial for smash when you get Ethel.
Well, I think it generally does teach you, like, the combo routes and, like, hey, you can, like, especially at the very beginning of the game when you just have the 3 party members, which is, like, break, topple, days, which is, like, okay. And it's like, oh, and you might get burst later. I'm like, okay, and there's also, like, and then you can kind of intuit, okay, so there's going to be launch and smash as well, and then that works out. But, hold on, I gotta reset.
It doesn't teach you why you would choose one over the other.
Yeah, it is in the game, and the chances of it appearing during your playthrough are high for you. It's like, oh yeah, I know that you can do this and not this, and that makes sense. But still, not super helpful.
Yeah, I do think the tutorial. Okay, do we want to talk about the tutorial since it's on the topic?
I feel like people had more issues with it than I did. I feel like that it wasn't like. I would argue that the clarity of this game is a recurring issue, not just in the tutorials, but also in the narrative. I think this game is very vague in a lot of aspects, but I think that generally speaking, the tutorials are fine. I didn't really have any particular issues with it.
I think the tutorials are simultaneously better and worse than 2s, and I don't know how they achieved that.
I mean, it's more so like.
I think they're better in that they're more clear. I hate them morally though.
I mean, like, one's tutorials were, like, super short, like, the only 1 or 2 prompts. Honestly, the Xenoblade 3's tutorials remind me a lot of Genshin Impacts, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Brian just said the main problem with tutorials is that it's just that mobile game tutorials force you to do everything slowly. And I think that's exactly what I think he hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what this game has.
I don't know. I'm too used to playing Genshin to know the difference, honestly.
I don't play many mobile games, but to me it struck me as how to catch a Pokemon tutorial from like Generation 4, where they have like the arrows pointing on top of the buttons you have to press. And it just, I don't mind it because you only have to do it once. Again, this is a very minor complaint, but I just kind of hate it morally that it forces you to do exactly what it does rather than, oh, here's the accessory menu. Equip an accessory, and then I can choose whatever accessory I have. No, it forces me to equip whatever accessory it wants me to equip, which is funny because they get you to do the accessory tutorial twice. I'm pretty sure this is an oversight. But because they get you to do the accessory tutorial twice, they force you to change the accessory on Noah. The first one they equip, I think, is an attack stone, and then the other one is like a rear guard or something like that you buy from the shop.
I don't remember the attack stone. I do remember the head guard, and I remember being really annoyed.
Yeah, the attack stone you get is when you open the very first container.
I mean, I guess that container is technically optional. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that one actually kind of bothered the headgear thing. Kind of bothered me because I like to min max and I wanted to put that hat on lands, but the game didn't let me.
Right.
Why would I put a tank item on an attacker? I don't get it. But okay, game, I'll change it immediately after we're done here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, true. That's it. Like, again, it's a minor complaint. I just wish it was a little more flexible. I know my friend actually got soft-locked in a tutorial because it was the tutorial for the information text boxes in Colony 4.
Right.
The little yellow eye didn't show up for him because he had left the game on for too long, and those things disappear sometimes if there's been, like, memory leak. At least that's what I think happens.
Right.
And it just wouldn't show up for him, and the game was forcing him to do the tutorial, so he just flat out could not progress. He was trying everything. He, like, saved his game, reloaded his game from his save, and it wasn't showing up. After, like, an hour of troubleshooting, I just told him, have you, like, completely quit the game and restarted it yet? He had not, so he did that and it just worked. So I guess that's another thing. This game does have a very noticeable memory leak thing. I'm pretty sure it's memory leak. I don't know if there's a different term for it.
The game has crashed so many times on me.
It's only crashed once on me, actually.
It's crashed like 4 or 5 times for me, but I was also playing on this game for like a week in handheld mode, and it would always crash specifically when I was done with the session and it had already saved. So like I put the game into sleep mode, and then when I woke it up, it had crashed overnight or something like that.
Right? Yeah, I don't trust sleep mode with games like this. I always just because of the way I streamed it, because YouTube VODs like have a 12-hour limit. I learned this for one of my Trails streams. If I go over 12 hours for a stream, it just cuts off the last, like, anything after past the 12-hour mark, right? So
this is correct. They also cut off 12-hour videos.
Yes, so basically what I decided with Xenoblade 3, because I kind of set aside 2 weeks to just play it as much as I could, I basically, whenever I took a break to, like, get food or whatever, I just stopped the stream and I'd close the game fully, restart it, so that I think closing the game often enough to, like, and restarting it that often did help me not encounter as many crashes. But there were a few times where I think the game kind of got a bit funky after, like, an hour or 2, and I had to restart it then. I did have one crash.
It happened to us on stream a couple times where the game just took forever to load, and you're just like, hello, are you okay, game? And then it would eventually load, but then that was kind of like the cue, like, hey, you should probably restart your game. Yeah.
Hey, there's a level 5 unique monster I never killed in the starting area.
Wait, what? You didn't kill that thing? That was like the first thing I killed.
I was on hard mode, remember? I couldn't actually kill it when I first ran into it.
See, this is why I never play games on hard mode, because I just find normal is the intended way unless I'm doing a challenge run. Also, I would like to...
I mix on normal and difficulty in this game.
I'd like to point out something that Brian said earlier. Also, hold on.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I had to do something. Brian said this game is that the tutorial system is annoying on repeat playthroughs. I'm never replaying this game again. I just I can't care enough, really. Like, I'm having a blast in the post game right now, because it's just optimizing builds, because I think the combat's very good, but nothing in this game makes me care enough to want to replay it. honestly. And like this is someone like I can't really replay Xenoblade games back to back. I have to like give myself like a couple of years because the starts of Xenoblade games tend to always be like the most boring in my opinion. Things like Gormott and Gaur Plain are a little, or Bionis Slag are a little. They're not bad. They're just a little dull compared to the rest of the content in the game. Kind of like how the beginning of Chrono Trigger, I would argue, is a little bit more dull compared to the middle. But that is just everything in Xenoblade 3. Like legitimately to the end, I'm just like I don't care what's going on here.
We'll get to that. But yeah, overall, the game feels very refined outside like a few questionable decisions, but overall very minor, I'd say.
Yeah. All right. What do we want to start? What do we want to start with? Do you want to start with combat? Do you want to start with level and world building, or do we want to start with and like side content, or do you want to do story? Because I have things to say about all of them. Some of them very negative. And
I
some
feel
of them very
like
positive.
what I'm going to say is going to be playing off what you say, because I've noticed in our discussions that there's a lot of things we either completely agree on or have complete opposite opinions on. There's like no in between for us.
And also like some would argue that it's unfair that I would put this game to like somewhat high standards, and like on one hand I'm not asking for a game to surpass Xenoblade 2, my favorite game of all time, but on the other hand I am expecting something that follows up to the pedigree of the series. And if you asked me right now if I said that Xenoblade 3 lives up to it, I would say yes, but just barely.
See, my take is actually I'll do the summary later. We can do that later. But yeah, why don't we start with just combat then? Let's go through in the order you listed them.
Cool. Okay. I adore the combat in this game. This game is I don't know. I haven't. So context, I never got to like post-game Xenoblade 2 where like the game gets nuts and like you can break the system in half. But this is like some of the most fun I've had in a post game in any game in a very, very long time. I've legit I also consider the side content better than the main story content, and everything has just been wonderful. And like I never want to stop playing. I have every class maxed out on every character. I am currently grinding golden Napon coins to max out all the gems. Afterwards, I will be grinding accessories, and then I will be grinding. Then I will be grinding the gems. Not gems. I will be grinding the unique monsters up to their max level, up to level 200 for one of them. And I'm gonna be working on optimizing times, and then after that, I'm gonna be waiting till challenge mode comes out, and then I'm gonna go crazy with that because I think that's gonna be where I'm gonna have a lot of fun. So yeah, this game, the combat in this game fucking works. I love it.
Yeah. So AFK content Xenoblade 3. We've heard that before. Yeah, so my general opinion of the combat is I like how all the mechanics work together. I do not like the setup and the grind. I think the class system is a really cool system that I have two issues with. One, it makes every character feel interchangeable. I'm not playing the character, I'm playing the class. Two, they max out too quickly, and every time I have to change a class, I have to change like 4 different things. There's accessories, gems, fucking arts, and there's one more I'm blanking on off the top of my head. Skills. And I know that's an auto-equip thing, but I really don't trust it. You should.
Okay, it's not, okay, side tangent. The auto-equip system is not perfect. It just isn't. But it is like 85% the way there. And honestly, for most of the game, that's what you just need. I legitimately, whenever I was doing it, I'm just like, yep, that's good. I might want to change it to a different accessory that I'd been happy with previously and maybe didn't fit into like what the game considered a linear strategy. Like, for example, the Lost Exile class, I think the game wants that class to be like hit more, but that class also has a insanely high evasion stat. And so my thought was, okay, I'm just going to take all that stuff off and replace it with evasion equipment and evasion gems. And that was like 3 changes, I think, over the entire thing. And it has a memory. Every time you go...
Sorry, you go.
And there's a memory system. So every time you like unequip a class and then you want to go back to level up higher, your equip settings will be preserved.
There's a few things here. First of all, when you did the auto-equip thing, because I didn't use this function at all, did you have to quickly check over the things that automatically equipped?
Yeah, that was it. I changed like 1 or 2 things.
I don't want to have to do that every time I change a class. 2, what was the last thing you mentioned?
Also, the memory system?
Yeah, the memory system. The memory system is what made me want to actually, like, optimize the setup, because I'd set up a class, like, you know, the starting classes. You only have, like, one master art equipped before you change to the later classes. Then you come back to it, and I've got actual good equipment now, and I'm like, okay, let me set them up with, like, the best sort of setup in my mind at the time. And then I have to do that, and then it's like, every time I came to change a class, I would be sitting in a menu for, like, 10 minutes, because I'd want to get it right so I don't have to do it again later on. But every time I changed a class, it always felt like I had to do it again later on, either way.
Well, the way I think about the class system in this game is, like, it is like this this very long, like, progression system to the kind of like the end game, where you go back to, like, your original class and you're more powerful than ever, because the best class is that for you is like your old class, and then you can bring over all your arts and skills and stuff like that. And I would say that isn't perfect for all characters in this game. Like, I think the default healers you get are kind of bad, but Sword Fighter's fine. Zephyr's amazing. Frickin' Ogre is like one of the best classes in the game, and I didn't even I was able to intuit that even before doing any research into like how the game works. I just figured, like, I think I was underestimating this class. It's really good, and I looked up and yep, it is that good. Which means Senna will always be the best Ogre because she has the upgraded blade weapon.
True.
So I guess there is individuality there, I guess.
I suppose, yeah. I think though, like, we talk about individuality, but like the difference in like stats is so minor in the grand scheme of things that, like, yes, if you want to play absolutely optimally, it makes a difference. But when you're like going through and like grinding up classes, going through the game for the first time, it doesn't matter that much, and that's why I just kind of felt interchangeable to me. It's like, what, 100 difference in attack? What's that gonna do? Right.
On Ogre class, Senna can get up to a 1700 attack stat, and that's just funny.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the thing is, I haven't quite gotten to that stage yet where I've maxed out all the classes and all that, but my general thoughts going through this game is, man, I kind of hate having to set up the class every time I change, because it's not only like I have to change the class for one character. Every time I change the class for one character, I have to make sure that all the roles on all my other characters are the same, are like balanced and not screwing over my strategy on all that, and not like changing it to the, and like, if I had to change a role, I'd have to change another character's class as well, which meant I had to change their setup. I had to change what role they were and find a class they weren't like maxed in already, and it just got a bit messy, and I felt like I was menuing a lot. But then I mean,
the hero system gives you enough leeway, I think, to...
Yeah, I realized that. So there were a few things that mitigated that as I went through. One was the hero system. It was reasonable to have like 3 of one class, because I could just have a hero of another role in my party. But then sometimes I'd need to have a different hero for a different quest, and then it gets messy sometimes, right? The other thing that mitigated it was, what was it? I had another thought, but I can't, it's escaped me at the moment. But I will say, I think the one thing that kind of kept me going with class sim is, while I didn't enjoy actually maxing class, every time I maxed a class, I had to have a sigh. I'm like, oh god, I have to go through the menus again. Oh no, I maxed a class. That's really how it felt for me. I feel like once I actually max out all the classes and get all the skills and all the customization is there, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with actually messing around with all of it, you know? On normal, it can even be reasonable to do one defender. Yeah, I realized that. This is the thing. Normal is not hard at all. There's no challenge in normal.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I don't like the settings that they do for hard mode.
No, I was on hard. I think the challenge is like perfectly reasonable, except that enemies have too much HP, and they basically nerf like chain attacks and interlinking to the point that you're basically not really using them. And that's what kind of got me, like, I didn't mind the challenge. The HP sponges I'm not a fan of, but I can deal with if I have to. But when it got to the point where I'm actually not engaging with the new mechanics in this game at all, effectively, is what it felt like, I was like, no, I think I'm going back to normal. I actually want to play the game.
I genuinely think that, sorry, I'm resetting the the auto grind. Give me a second. Genuinely, like I wish they did something more with Xenoblade 2, where in this game, hard mode is just a flat like nerf of everything across the board. Whereas obviously in Xenoblade 2 you had customizable difficulty options to make it as insane if you wanted. But also, what they changed was very like particular. Like they only changed certain things for the Bringer of Chaos difficulty, which emphasized different strategies, but still let you kind of like interact with the game as it was meant to be played. But like things like the nerfing of things like debuffs and chain attack length and stuff like that just kind of makes the game not fun.
I agree with that, especially the chain attack. When I because I was on hard and I'm like, chain attacks are good, but they take so long and I'm doing barely any damage, right? And then I changed down to normal and chain attacks actually were kind of broken and did a lot of damage. I'm like, oh. So yeah, it's a weird hard mode that I think eventually they might actually add a custom mode in.
They're going to. There's a very hard difficulty in the data mine that is not currently unlocked yet, which implies that they're going to give us more difficulty options like they did in XE2.
Which I hope makes at least like, you know, hard fun. But I don't know. Like I feel like chain attacks being nerfed to the point. Oh god, the enemies fucking engage me. Hold up.
Brian says chain attacks are a good pick-me-up to retake the flow of a fight. Have you fought the most difficult unique monster in the game at level 170? Because he locks you out of your chain attacks. Like, he inflicts shackle chain attack on you, and I have not found an accessory that blocks that yet. So, do let me know if you find that accessory, because I kind of need that.
Actually, yeah, on the topic of chain attacks, I don't really like them in this game. Like,
they're fine.
It's weird. It's like, I like them in concept, but they take so long. And that's my issue with them, really. It's not like they're bad from a mechanical perspective. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff they do with it. Having the heroes to spice up, like, the TP actions and all that makes a lot of I think it comes down to customizability, and it really enhances like your customizability with your party setup and like what sort of roles you want your party members to be in, what classes you want to be in. But at the same time, it takes too long for me to actually justify using it in a lot of fights, because I would have, like, apart from overkill when I'm actually grinding, which gets mitigated later on as well, it just feels like I could have finished the fight like 5 minutes ago.
I don't like using chain attacks on like normal monsters, which is I'm almost wondering if the length is like a balancing effect, because in XC1 and XC2 you wouldn't want to use your chain attacks on every basic monster, because that would waste your party gauge, right? And likewise in this game you don't want to do that, because it would just extend the battle by like 3 minutes, and that sounds really boring. But I would always want to use chain attacks on like unique monsters or bosses, or
I would never want to use them on bosses. On unique monsters, I don't care. But bosses, no. You know why.
Music, yeah. I like, and we'll talk about this, I don't think the battle themes in this game are that great. I think there's a couple good ones, but the chain attack theme is better.
I'll have to, I still don't have quite a solid opinion on the soundtrack, because I haven't gone and listened through the game rip on its own quite yet, but I do have thoughts on the implementation. I do quite like a lot of the battle themes in this game. I think it's very easy to pick out who did what for battle themes in this game, apart from maybe the ocean battle theme, which I say that, but I think I figured out who actually composed that. But I'll save that for another stream. I'm planning on doing a composer guessing stream. I don't know how many people are going to be interested in that. Just to give me some very nice bragging rights once we get the official like composer breakdown for the game. Yeah. Bragging rights nobody will fucking give a shit about. But anyway, yeah, I think the other thing with chain attacks is, God, why does it interrupt boss music? Like, they got it for the final boss fight, right? The chain attack music doesn't actually interrupt the final boss music, except in the final phase.
I thought that was funny. I kind of like it, actually. it feels like this, like it feels like an anime, like, you know, Kill la Kill,
the
like,
hero theme coming in for the final part.
Yeah, like, do you know, like, Kill la Kill? You know, like, how every song in that show is, like, interrupted by the main theme, like, the main, like, theme of Ryoko in Kill la Kill?
Yes,
It reminded
I
me
am
of
a Sawano fan, Owen. I don't know why you're asking, do you know Kill la Kill?
Yes, okay. Okay, well, yeah, I'm asking if you remember that. I know you've seen the show.
I vaguely, yes.
The chain attack reminds me of that. Like, instead of the show breaking out into "Don't Lose Your Way" every 10 seconds, it's the chain attack theme, which once you get into it is actually, I like, once you think of it in that perspective, I actually kind of dig it. It's like the kind of out of nowhere anime comeback, which is dumb, but I kind of love it.
I think it's a miracle that Xenoblade 2 didn't have a theme that interrupted, like, gameplay. Because, let me put it this way. In Xenoblade 1, you have, what, is it Vision Reacts or Regular Bound, or I forget which one it is, but there's, like...
Vision React.
Yeah. Whenever you, like, break a Vision tag, it interrupts the battle theme.
It interrupts every battle theme except unless it's a boss theme.
And I think a Regular Bound is the one that plays when you get targeted, right? By the enemy first.
I think so.
Whereas Xenoblade X also had this with Legion, which I didn't mind too much. I know I didn't pronounce that right. It had a enemy targeting, like when the enemy spots you or surprises you, theme as well. But the difference with that is that one I only played for like 30 seconds before going into the regular battle theme. And then Xenoblade 2 had nothing. I don't know how Xenoblade 2 had nothing. I think it's just because they had nothing to really attach a theme to interrupt the battle. Which I think, in hindsight, considering Xenoblade 3 does this with chain attacks as well, I think it's a miracle.
Well, chain attacks are more of an event in 3. Maybe, like, if they were to do it to anything, they would give a little jingle during full bursts in Nexi 2. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, I could see that happening, but I still wouldn't want the music to be interrupted. X's ambush thing is so bad. I kind of like it as an introduction to, like, the boss theme, because on the soundtrack, it's like, it plays before the actual, like, the regular boss theme for that game. It's all in one track, and I kind of like it in that context, but in the game, I mean, it does a good job at setting the tone. I like the dissonant sort of intro to something that's a lot more tonal later on.
Right.
But that's beside the point of this stream, I think. But yes.
I like this game more than X. I'll give you that.
I think... God, I hate you saying that, but let's not get into it. But yes, so, yo, can we change this to an X spoiler cast? Oh god. But yeah.
No, because I hate X. No, I don't hate it, but like I have a lot of issues with X.
Yeah.
Like a lot of design issues specifically.
But yeah, that's basically my only issues with the chain attack, I'd say. I know that went on for very long, but it's like just the interruption of the music and they're going for too long.
Before we switch topics, do you want to list like your 5 favorite heroes and 5 favorite classes to use?
Oh god.
It can be on any metric battle.
Oh god.
Personality.
I haven't even thought about like ranking them, but I can definitely tell you my favorite classes to play as, my 2 favorite classes to play as.
Yeah, I feel like one of those is obvious.
Yeah, I really like Signifier and Troubadour.
I liked my favorite class in the game ended up being Lost Exile.
Oh, Lost Exile, that's right.
The Ashira's class.
Yes.
I probably had more fun with that class than anything in the game because that's just Dunban as a class. So you just jack up your agility and your critical hit rate, and then you just go to town, and you have like 20% hit rate, so 20% crit rate. So every time you hit, every 20% of the time you hit, you get crits, and the talent art charges up really fast. So it is literally art spam as a tank, and it's great. Other than that, I really enjoy. I mentioned before, Ogre ended up being like, as soon as I finished the main story, I reverted all my characters back to their original classes as soon as they got all their classes maxed. And so Senna was set to Ogre for a while, and I started using her more in chain attacks because I wanted to like Senna more, and I really do like Senna a lot, and I wanted to use her more. And I started noticing like how much damage Ogre was doing with my unoptimized setup. And I'm like, okay, what else can this class do? And I started playing as her, and like, okay, it's dealing a lot more damage, and this game is it's crazy. And then I decided to look it up, what else it could do. And I found out that Ogre is the best break inflictor in the game because of one of its skills.
Right.
So Ogre ended up being one of my favorite classes to play just because it's useful and it does so much damage. I know this one isn't super popular, but I really enjoyed the Stalker, the Archer. I enjoyed using that one in chain attacks. I think that its arts are a little too slow for viable play, but I think that it has useful arts that you can use as fusion arts to reduce the cooldown on like the start, like the duration of an art. So like art follow-up ended up being a mainstay in my kit because I had it as a fusion art. Other than that, that's 3. Signifier is very fun, as is Troubadour. I like both of those classes quite a bit. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anyone.
Is this the first game to have like really attractive healer classes, actually? Like support classes? Because I think 2's was good, but it like ultimately you wouldn't want to use like a regular healer class. You'd prefer over like a crit healer build, typically.
Yeah, crit healing or Fiora is what you'd go with.
Or Fiora, yeah, just Fiora. Do you want to talk about Stalker? Because Brian brought it up. Stalker and the other one. Which one was it that you mentioned?
Stalker. I said Stalker's the Archer.
Yes.
I like that class. So I think that it's rough if you're using it only in normal battle. It's a really bad class then. However, I'm noticing a trend with this game where not everything is good in every situation. And by that I mean that some classes are straight up like insane in chain attacks and are basically useless in normal gameplay. So what actually I ended up for a good like 25% of the game, I ended up running a chain attack center build where I would just focus on break topple, daze burst, or break topple launch smash, typically with Lucky 7 as much as I could until I got chain attack, and then I would just do a lot of damage with these chain attack classes. So Stalker ended up being one of my favorites because it has a lot of benefits for like bleed and stuff like that. And I kept using it. It was one of my favorite classes to use in chain attacks up to the end of the game. I tried doing this with almost every class in the game. The only one I couldn't get it to really work was Machine Assassin because debuffs suck in this game. But
yeah, I saw Machine Assassin. I'm like, oh, it's a debuff version of Signifier. Nope. It just... I mean, yes, but...
I tried. I really tried because I really like Sagiri and I really like the look of the class. I think it's really neat. I like the bodysuit on females and the mech suit for the males. I think it's a really cool looking class. I'm like, I want to try and see if this is good. And then I started I optimized recharge and stuff like that. And then I went into Origin, and then I started trying to do the debuff resist down at status effect, and every enemy in Origin resists that. And then I gave up.
Yeah, it would be good if most enemies just didn't resist it and it didn't wear off so quickly.
We tried so hard. I really wanted to make it work. I thought it was a really cool class. I thought it'd be if you could get haste up on it and do all kinds of stuff, you could get some really cool stuff going. No.
It's just basically use Signifier instead because buffs are kind of busted.
Yeah. I wanted to make it work. I really did. I just couldn't. Soul Hacker, I haven't messed around with Soul Hacker too much. I can say that I'm currently running 6 Soul Hackers, fighting the best unique monster in the game, auto grinding, and yeah, they get the job done in about 10 minutes, and I get about 6 gold coins per hit. Actually, I think I should be getting up to 99, so I might be buying a gem on stream.
Nice.
Looking forward to that.
Sounds good. I'll have to look into that setup at some point, but we'll see how things go. Because I still got to max out all these classes, get all the Soul Hacker skills and all that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to figure out what I want to run for Soul Hacker, but it is looking like it's a bust. I have every skill in the game. I just need to upgrade the ones I want to use. Yeah, Machine Assassin just makes me sad. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I want to say? Oh yeah, chain attacks. I mentioned this before. Chain attacks are basically just a turn-based version of the gem grind of gem crafting in Xenoblade 1, where the goal is to get it as close to 99 as possible, and then put a big number after 99 in order to push it over the edge. At least optimal gem crafting in Xenoblade 1. So that's how I thought of that. and in that I really like chain attacks. And the other thing, two other things. The first off is that it's interesting how the game does kind of lean more turn-based with the chain attack system, which is weird because like the game is so like the series is so MMO focused, but like it's like a antithesis to what X does with Overdrive, where like that game becomes a single player action game. This game becomes like no enemy allowed turn-based RPG, and I kind of dug that. It was really cool. And the other thing is that outside of chain attacks, Takahashi has put as many like subtle fighting game mechanics into this game as he possibly could. So like there's things like stagger release, where you like shake the joystick and mash a button to get out of stagger or topple earlier. And that is a thing in fighting games. There's things like early on in the game, there are combo routes, so you have to go auto attack, cancel into art, cancel into fusion art, and then you can cancel into super. But you can't cancel arts into other arts at the start. I kind of wish it stayed that.
Yeah, Go on.
I kind of wish it stayed that way. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I felt the same. I was like, damn, that's such a cool idea. Like, it means you're not spamming arts. You actually think about the order of your arts. That's so cool. And then they give you arts cancel anyway. And I think that's for the better on the overall thing, because I think it makes combat feel so much smoother. But I wish they did more with that concept.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea that you can, like, there are other ways, like, you could cancel a fusion art down to an art. And it reminded me of like Gatlings and like Guilty Gear, where like you go like light to heavy, but some characters can like heavy to light and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I wish that this kind of just stuck around. This is a really cool system.
It's a super cool system that
and it adds more utility to the Ouroboros forms, because we barely talked about those.
Oh yeah, we haven't. Yeah.
Because those, like, the game tells you, hey, those can get art canceling, and that you are like, yeah, that makes sense. It's an overpowered form that has a time limit, so yes, you should be able to cancel arts and arts. That makes it feel more special. And then they just give you normal arts canceling. I will say though that canceling in this game does feel like it matters more than Xenoblade 2, because there's no auto attack combo in this game. It's just the one auto attack. Like they don't do a string of 4 or 3 attacks like they do in Xenoblade 2. And arts and auto attacks in this game have a hefty amount of like end recovery. So to be efficient, you should be canceling. And I appreciate that, because it's canceling not just because it's like for the damage buff, but also because it saves you time and it can help you make more decisions.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like I said, I think it's a good thing that they eventually unlock like arts canceling on all characters, because I like with the arts like having like basically lots of end lag and all that. I'm like, yeah, okay, that just makes the game feel so much more fluid. You don't have to like be sitting there for like 5 seconds before you can use your next move or auto attack. I kind of wish they did more with the initial like art water concept.
Yeah, I thought if anyone who plays like Persona Arena, or like I think BlazBlue has that, I'm not sure, but like normals into specials into super cancels. That is like how like Persona 4 Arena works, and like that's like one of my favorite games of all time. And to see it represented in this, I'm like, this is so cool. I want to see more of this. And they get rid of it. But for that brief like 30% of the game, it felt like an RPG fighting game, which I mean they've kind of been doing since Xenogears. So
true. This game very much is Xenogears in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
My only problem with the cancel in this game is that this game slows down when aggro shifted. Right, there's a little effect when aggro changes.
There's a lot of like hit stop and stuff like that. Like whenever you burst or top, like burst, aggro change, or smash all have this effect, and it's kind of obnoxious sometimes.
I think the one thing I need to do at some point is I need to turn off the battle camera, because you can actually I don't know if that affects burst and smash, but I know if you turn off the battle camera, for instance, if you're using a talent art, you can change characters during a talent art.
It's a system that exists in this game. You can change characters mid-combat. I haven't found the optimal way of doing it yet, but
I've used it a few times to reasonable effect when like I'm a lot more restricted. Early game when I was a lot more restricted with my my combos, right? My combo arts. Changing characters to basically force them to use the right arts at the right time that I wanted worked out pretty well because I realized, oh, the order is always the same: Noah, Mio, Uni, Tyon, Land, Senna, right?
Right.
But overall, this also kind of leads back into me feeling like, okay, this character changing is great, but I feel like it's both incentivized by the class system and also de-emphasized because all the characters play the same. And it doesn't feel like I'm actually changing characters. Like, I don't feel like I'm playing as Mio, I'm playing as her class. And it's a weird thing to feel like it's both emphasized and de-emphasized by the class system at the same time.
I actually kind of like the fact that like you can have certain characters fill certain roles. So like if I need like, I think I've been finding myself using character changing the most before chain attacks, because there are some characters that I really want to have a side bonus, so I just make sure that I change to them so that way they can get to the side so they can like break or whatever, and then I activate the chain attack. So I've been doing that. I've been switching between Noah and Senna a lot. Thankfully they're right next to each other on the wheel.
I usually switch between Noah and Mio a lot just because I mean Noah, like I'm pretty much solely playing as Noah at the moment because of Lucky 7, but like Mio, I had Mio on Signifier for a while, and that's actually it's actually really insane if you can get it done right, where especially if you have the Noah on a tank, right? He gets like invincibility from his Lucky 7, right? If you then interlink, sorry, my game's loading, for a different area. But like if you interlink while you have invincibility, then you like go back to normal. Mio then gets that invincibility, and as Signifier you can pass that to the entire party.
Right.
It's really dumb, and I think I did that on accident a few times during the final boss, and that's kind of what carried me through it. But yeah, there's some really fun stuff you can do with character switching. It's just, it's not immediately clear, I think.
Yeah, I haven't used it too much. I found the AI to be pretty competent. I haven't found the Ouroboros AI to be very competent, but I kept it on AI for most of the story just because I couldn't be bothered.
AI doesn't arts cancel. They don't cancel arts into arts. They do arts. They do auto attack cancel, but they won't cancel arts into arts.
They like saving arts, which is really nice when you want to switch to them and make sure that you have a top alert.
I do think the AI works fine in this game. It's not like atrocious like Melia or Melia or Shulk in Xenoblade 1.
Cool. Any final thoughts on the gameplay before I need to go, and we'll be back?
Yeah,
in like
we're gonna take a break for a bit. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll take a break. I'll just keep playing for a bit, I guess. But yeah, no, I think that basically sums up how I feel. I think overall the mechanics work well once it's all set up, but I feel like there's a few things that kind of bug me. It's not a huge deal.
And
probably the most refined feeling Xenoblade game, though.
I would agree with that, and I also feel like I disagree with you in the fact that like I had fun the entire way through, and the class system kind of made the game for me, and I don't know, I just kind of dug it. I like the 7-party.
My unique classes from Xenoblade 1, like each character playing completely differently.
Honestly, I kind of prefer this because Xenoblade 1 basically has class changing, and just every character only gets 2 classes. Anyways. Yeah. All right, I'll be back.
All right. It's just me and you left here, I think. This is my stream now. I might take a break as well, but I figure I can just kind of chill and chat. So Owen is gone at the moment. He's got something to do. And yeah. 3 is my favorite game in the series. Yeah, I mean, I think I should probably say this when Owen gets back, but I think it just nudges out, just slightly nudges out and comes out on top of Xenoblade 1 and 2 for me. Because previously I couldn't really decide whether I liked 1 or 2 more. but only very slightly, because there's some stuff that does bog it down a bit to me. But yes, very excited for my next playthrough. I don't replay games. I just rarely ever do. So I can say for a fact I am very glad this game doesn't have any missable content. Or at least I think it has like a few quests in like the prison that's missable. But otherwise nothing at all. Which is great for me. I kind of expected that once I realized the game was designed around that, like not having missable content. You hate missable content, but you replay games anyway. I don't see why. You like replaying games, so just get all the missable content on your replay. I still don't... I know that's not exactly the logic, but like... From my perspective, someone who doesn't replay games, if you want missable content, just replay the game and get it all that time on your second run. It shits on the flow. Well, I never tell people to 100% Xenoblade 1. Unless it's a replay. I think it's best done... Do as many quests as you can, but don't feel you have to do them all. You're gonna miss something, most likely, either way. I do think it kind of messes with the flow with Trails, though, because of the quests being quite in-depth for story and characters. And you kind of do want to see them, whereas in Xenoblade 1, it's a mix of, this is great, and, okay, I don't necessarily feel like doing this. I would like to clean up side quests over leveled as well. Yeah, no, I mean, yes and no. I'm not really that kind of person. I like, once I'm there, I don't mind it. Like, I like being able to just go through it without having to think about it. But when I'm not over leveled, like when I'm going through the game for the first time, I try to do as many side quests at the, like, level it expects me to be. Trails will give you a missable quest in the middle of a plot. Critical moment with urgency. That is true. There's only one instance in second chapter, Sky second chapter, which I feel does that the worst. The goddamn cat, the cat quest. I missed that, and it's the only quest I missed in SC. But yeah. Yeah. I will never forgive SC for this. I think SC is probably the worst. Well, no, FC is probably the worst with missable quests in the series. I know we're talking about Trails and not Xenoblade at this point, but... I think SC is better, but only by a small margin, and then everything else is fine. Chris helped me to make sure I got max BP. I never go for max BP. I do my best to get it, but I never get it. I don't really care enough. Like, I want to see everything, but if I don't get it, I don't get it. That's fine. Yeah. So what is that? We spent like an hour talking about combat. Oh god. How are we gonna get through the rest of what we wanted to talk about? Let's see. We talked combat, level design, story, and then I wanted to talk about music. I guess we've kind of covered a few things. 3. What a good game. Yeah, Sky the Third is such a good game, isn't it? I'm sorry. Level design. Yeah, I definitely want to touch on level design for this game. Because... oh god. I have a lot of thoughts. And I think... it'll be interesting to see what Owen says. I think Owen and I kind of disagree to some degree with the level design. But we'll get to it when it does that, because I don't want to talk about my side and give a very, like, negative impression of how Owen thinks about things. before we get there. Because I think we differ greatly to some degree in this. Level design does matter a lot for Xenoblade than other RPGs. I agree. And there's a lot of things I think this game does right, and a few things I think it does wrong. Oh. What happened to the music? Oh. Okay. More RPGs need a jump button. I mean, props to Xenogears having a jump button from the very first game. Xenosaga doesn't, though. Okay, yeah, I do have a few things I definitely want to talk about. I'm just thinking about this. That's why Xenosaga sucks, huh? I can make so many jokes off that, but I'm not going to. Yeah. All right. Well, I might. Oh. I'll be playing Xenosaga in 2023. That's me with. That's what I've told myself about Final Fantasy 14. I don't think I'll ever get to it though. I get the feeling I'm just going to look at it and then go, wow, that's a time sink, and just say no. Yeah. I wonder if I'll get through the entirety of Ionios by just walking. By the end of the stream, I should say. I will never play Final Fantasy 14 because it will destroy my life. That's what I'm afraid of. That's genuinely what I am terrified of. I will say it's been very funny talking to Owen as we play through the game, because, like, Owen and I basically made an agreement to, like, not really talk about the game until we both finish. We did kind of start talking about the game since, after Chapter 5 ended, though. After we finished Chapter 5, Chapter 6, and we both confirmed, yes, we have done Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. And we shared a few thoughts, because by then, I think a lot of our thoughts were pretty much set. And I don't think my thoughts have necessarily changed, other than, I guess, maybe some thoughts on the ending and, like, the story elements. I mean, but, like, overall for, like, gameplay and stuff, yeah. I had no one to share with, yeah, because you went through the game super fast. You were waiting for me to finish. But, yeah. I will say, I'm glad I got through main story without spoilers, and I didn't see any trailers. I think that did actually have a very different experience for me than a lot of people, maybe. Because I didn't even know about interlinks before I touched this game, before I opened on this game. And I'm also glad I made the correct choice to not check the back of the box, because interlinks are, like, right there on the back of the box. Did you finish? No, fuck you, finish it then. I wanted to take my time with the side content. I did. I managed to get most of it done. I think I've done every side quest at this point, but I also don't know if I have. Like, I don't know if there's, like, an information piece in a colony that I haven't checked. I still haven't maxed out affinity with Lambda or the Nopon Caravans. Nopon Caravans I can get max affinity just by Collectopedia cards. Like, there's, like, 2 or 3, and I should be able to do it. The Colony Lambda, I think I need to grind out affinity Collectopedia cards, which is going to be fun, because I don't think there are any more quests in Colony Lambda. It's gonna take a while because the Lambda Collectopedia cards give like no affinity whatsoever. It's gonna take a while. But otherwise, everything else is max rank, so that's nice. Yeah, Owen's gonna be a bit, so I might potentially go make some food actually, but we'll see how things go. I'm not particularly hungry, but I do have some food I can go get. That's the thing. Yeah. He will return right when you leave. No, I think he said he'll be like 20 minutes or so. So I'm just here to make sure the stream keeps going while he's gone. I do wonder how big this map is though in comparison to X. Because I'm walking through it and I feel like I'm already in Faunus, right? It's only been an hour. I mean, I have never walked through the areas of X at this speed, but I'm sure it takes longer than this to get to fucking Noctilum. I'm already like halfway through Faunus. Though I think I am taking a shortcut by going through Alace Highway. I think this will be shorter. Noctilum from NLA. Well, yeah, you have to go through Primordia, right? Because I started Everblight Plain, or Colony 9, and then I went through the Yatia region. I guess the Yatia region is kind of small compared to Faunus. Faunus really is the biggest region in this game, I think. Like, I mean, that's still Cadencia, but Cadencia's a lot of water which you just go by really quickly in the boat. So that's not really, it's not really as big as it seems. Though the islands are pretty large. It might just be the same-ish time, maybe. Right. God, I really want to get into level design with Owen, because I will be making comparisons to X, but not from a level design not from like the environmental perspective. I mean, there's a lot of areas that do oddly seem like they're from X, but other than that, yeah, it's like this thing. I think this game takes a lot from X in its levels design, but there's a few things X did better, and Owen will absolutely disagree with me on that. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't want to speak for Owen, because he has his own opinions, and I don't want to paint them in a negative light before he gets to them. But yeah, I think our biggest disagreement point in any Xenoblade discussion is X, and that's why we pretty much disagree on how some points on the level design here. Because this game does take a lot from X. I don't think it takes a lot from X. Sorry, I'm listening to the Milik Meadows theme, and like that little sounds familiar. No, I can't remember where that's from. I think it might be a 2 motif, but I doubt it. Hey Monolith, you motherfuckers, where's my export? I think if they ever make an export, it would be a very different game. Because they'd be trying, like, based on Definitive Edition at least, they would want to at least make it a bit more quality of life friendly, which involves changing the menus somehow. Because at least Definitive changed from that you have a menu open as you walk around the area to just pause the game, right? And I think there'd be a lot of changes they'd make to that. Yeah, they would be. I wonder what is next for the series, though, beyond, like, the DLC for this game, right? I think I haven't looked at all the pre-release stuff yet. I still need to do that. I might do that in the next few days. Because I think it'd be fun to watch through all the trailers. I guess I can say this now. So, I have, like, 3 Post-Xenoblade 3 streams plans. This is one of them. The little discussion with Owen. We've been wanting to do this for a little while. But the other one we want to do, there's 2 other ones I want to do. One is going through, and I guess you could call it a reaction stream. It's more like watching all the content that Nintendo pushed out during marketing for this game. Because it'll be very interesting to watch these trailers for the first time in hindsight, I feel. I haven't seen any of them. I've seen screenshots and, like, short clips from some of them, but I haven't seen them in full, and I'd be curious what they did and didn't reveal before the game came out, right? Okay, that is from Gourmont. Yeah, that motif is from Gourmont, but why would it be from Gourmont? I think, but why would they bring it from Gourmont when Milik Meadows is based on Gara Plains? Sorry, I'm noticing things about the motif. I don't know what the series to become an action RPG. I mean, Wikipedia describes this as an action RPG. What would you even call this genre? It's like the closest thing is MMO, right? But it's not an MMO. It's not quite an action RPG. They typically do call it an action RPG, though. Fancy ATV. I mean, I guess, no, but yeah, no, not really, because it's just auto-attacking is just such a different concept to what most games would have you do for basic attacks. You know what? Maybe that's why I like it so much, because auto-attacking doesn't require you to mash buttons. And I've never been a big fan of mashing in games. I like calculated button presses, and that's why I enjoy, like, action RPGs that get you to dodge and time your dodges. I hate when they force you to mash a button. It's bad for my hands. I'm a pianist. I can't do that. It destroys my hands. You could get some very serious RSI from doing that. I did once. It's not good. I fucking hate it. I think it's just flat out bad game design. What's the Dark Souls 1 stream? Eventually. I do have the game. Remastered, at least. I've been thinking about Souls, but I don't think I'm getting to it this year, to be honest. There's too many other games I want to play. Because, Brian, you know what I want to play? You know what I want to play after I finish AI the Somnium Files? Assuming I have time before I get Stray. Depends how long AI takes me. I sent you an image of the package I got, right? Yes. I figured, you know what? Let's just hop into it. At least the first game. Because I know it's not very long, right? I need like a change of pace, I think, because I've been doing so many like long-ass text-based games, story-based games. I haven't done like a platformer in a while. I think I did Owlboy was the last platformer I did. Took me 5 hours to 100%, so I could technically do that in one stream, but I think that might call for I think instead that might just call for shorter streams. Potentially. Rather than going for like 5-hour streams, because some games just like anything that's more intensive on action, I think I can't play for that long without getting exhausted. A 10 to 12 hour long stream of Sonic Heroes. I can do that for RPGs, I can't really do that for many other genres. Like, hell, I effectively did that for Xenoblade 3. Recently replayed Sonic Heroes in like 8.5 hours. See, I have two versions of Sonic Heroes. I have the PlayStation 2 version, which is considered the worst of them, and I also have the PC version, which is also not great. I'd love the GameCube version, but that's obviously the best and also the most expensive, so fun. Isn't that fun? I owned the PS2 version. I have it because basically the PS2 I own is from my cousins. The PlayStation 2 was sitting at our grandmother's house for like a while, right? And she was about to throw them out, and I'm like, no, I'll take it. Don't throw out a PlayStation 2. I want to keep that. I'm glad I did because from two different sets of cousins, there were two PlayStation 2s. I never owned a PlayStation 2 as a kid. But I ended up getting one of those PlayStation 2s because one of the cousins didn't want it back. But the other PlayStation 2 I gave back. But I inherited Kingdom Hearts 2 on PlayStation 2 and Sonic Heroes from those cousins because I just asked could I keep these games because, you know, I'm really into these series, right? And so, hey, I own two versions of Sonic Heroes. And I got the PC release, the Sonic Collection on PC. I believe it was only released in France and Australia. It has Sonic Riders, Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventure DX, and there's one more. Is it Mega Collection? Hang on, I've got it right here. Let me check. Here we go. Sonic PC Collection. Sonic Riders, Sonic Heroes, Sonic DX Director's Cut, Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut, and Sonic Mega Collection Plus. Admittedly, I could never get Mega Collection Plus working, funnily enough, because, I don't know, the controller just didn't connect properly. But, yeah. I don't think I have Sonic Heroes installed, but this was the way I played Sonic Adventure, because Sonic Adventure on Steam didn't work. Like, it didn't save. I couldn't save the game. I believe there's a way to fix that. I think I fixed it for Jet Set Radio recently, so I need to finish that game. But yeah, the game just doesn't save on PC without a fix for it. So, on Steam, I should say. Needs a lot of mods to make them better. Those PC ports aren't good? Yeah, they really aren't. I'm not sure if I should mod Jet Set Radio at all. But yeah. God, I'm so excited to be talking about some of the other aspects of Xenoblade 3. I think most of my thoughts are on my stream VODs, but no one's gonna watch that. Not unless I sit down and edit them, which I have been doing, but it's gonna take a fucking while. God. This is also the funniest section in the game, because you just see 3 biomes. By the way, like, just look at the screen. You see 3 biomes intersecting like this, and I think it's funny, but it also works. Like, you've got this wasteland going into plains, which immediately goes into desert. Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to bring this up when Owen gets back. Again, Monolith is still, I think, the kings of world design in the industry, I'd say. I don't think there's... I mean, I don't play many open world games, so I'm probably not the best source of authority to say this. But I don't think there's any... I don't think there are many open world games that really get the design as well as they do. Elden Ring comes close, kinda. I still haven't played it, but I trust that. I think there are a few things. I don't know, I've heard lots of mixed things on Elden Ring. It's interesting. Then you hit the final chunk of that game and my goodwill evaporates. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, you said Elden Ring is my third least favorite from FromSoft. I feel like my feelings on Elden Ring might be similar to others with Xenoblade 3. Yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen too much general opinion of Xenoblade 3. I think I wanted to keep to myself, and I still am sort of keeping to myself with my opinions. I've been waiting to make this stream with Owen. We planned the stream, we set a time, and then we realized Owen had something coming up. But he shouldn't be too long now, I think. I hope. Oh god, this is such an interesting game in the series, though. I'm still holding off because I want Owen to come back so we can discuss it, right? The one thing it's weird because I really don't like people arguing over whether Xenoblade 1 or 2 is better. The one thing I really don't want to see with this game is whether people are arguing if this is, like, between 1, 2, and 3, right? Which I'm sure they are. I'm sure there are people saying, oh, 2 was better, oh, 1 was better. But, yeah. It's been great playing the game before looking up anything with the game. As in, like, did you watch any trailers or anything? Surely, right? Because I don't know you to avoid trailers like I do. I watch all the trailers because I'm weak. You are fucking weak. Ignored fan discussion. Fair enough. I just refused to talk about the game. I didn't want anyone mentioning shit to me. I saw like 3 or 4 things. I heard that you could change characters mid-battle. I heard you could like, I saw a few character designs. I saw Ethel and Juniper before the game was released. I think that was about it. There were no other characters I saw. There were a few other things I knew about the game, but I don't remember. Those were the main things I think I was quote-unquote spoiled for. Surprisingly, like, when people were saying, like, oh, I think you're gonna love the main gimmick of the combat. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what that is. And then I heard about changing characters mid-battle, and I'm like, oh, wait. Oh, wait. Is that the gimmick you were talking about? I didn't tell anyone I heard about the gimmick until I started playing. I heard about changing characters mid-battle before I started playing, but that's what I thought. But no, now that I've played the game, I'm like, oh, they were talking about interlinking. Finally, our second non-binary character, from Rock to Juniper. Don't they refer to Rock as a he in Xenoblade 2? I mean, I'm not here to debate this, but I know his internal, or Rock's internal gender is like set to 4 or something like that in Xenoblade 2. Juniper's set to 2 based on the data man. They're non-binary. I don't think there's any debate about it. There's people talking about Juniper being like, oh, they made them non-binary and like a localization choice or whatever. No, Japanese players don't know the gender either. Actually, it's defined as unknown. At least that's what I've seen on Japanese discussion about the game. Yeah, like, Japanese people, like, don't know Juniper's gender. That's generally what I see. There are some fan sites that list Juniper as a girl and whatnot, but no. I think they pretty much, like, I'm pretty certain the intent was to be just non-binary straight up. I don't think this is a localization thing. Again, I'd probably have to play the game in Japanese, but I'm pretty certain that's what it is, since actually, funnily enough, when I was looking this up in Japanese, there's another character people don't know the gender for, and that's Voldy in Japan. Apparently, they never refer to his gender at all in Japan, in the Japanese script. So people were like, "Oh, is Voldy a boy or a girl?" No, he's a boy in this case, but because you know the game file is right. But yeah, you literally can't. I agree. You can't dispute Juniper being non-binary. I didn't pick up on that, unfortunately. I referred to Juniper as a her when I first met them, but when someone brought it up to me later on, and I looked back on all the scenes, I'm like, oh, yeah, they do refer to Juniper as they. So yeah. Voldy's referred to as a guy in the English script. Well, Voldy's also a guy based on the data mine, right? Why is that so interesting? I pick it up immediately when Tyne just said they. That's true. I think I thought about it, but I was like, oh, Tyne was just referring to the group. But I guess, yeah, no, in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. One part yes, another part no. Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely felt the same there. Again, it doesn't surprise me that Monolith does this sort of stuff with character representation, because they've always been oddly, I guess, progressive about these things. Is that the right word? Compared to, like, most of Japan. So it doesn't exactly surprise me. It's just nice to see, especially from a Japanese studio, right? Because Japan's so behind. Just in general. I like how I'm discovering, yeah. Monolith does a higher proportion of female employees. Yeah. Especially, like I said, because of all this, it doesn't surprise me that Monolith would write a non-binary character into the game. It is absolutely notable for Japanese devs. Oh, there's more. There's a lot more drifting soul in this song than I first thought. The horn has the drifting soul melody. It's panned to the left. Yeah. Yeah. I need to change my profile picture on Twitter. For what? Encoding overloaded. The frame rate might be dropping. Drifting Soul is unfortunately a song I never really liked in isolation. Really? I feel like Drifting Soul was one when I first heard it with, like, in Xenoblade 2, the very first scene it played in. I was like, that's weird usage. Then I heard it in the final cutscene. I'm like, okay, that's good usage. And then I went back to that scene earlier on. I'm like, okay, I really like how this is used here, right? And then I played more, and then I kept listening to the song. I'm like, okay, I really like this song. I like it when I'm playing the game, but not when I'm casually listening. Right, interesting. We have Aegis Wilderness playing in the background, and this is probably my favorite area theme in the game, I'd say. One last you and a step away's peak. What about where we belong? I need to listen to both of them. Like, I haven't listened to them outside of the context of the game. I've only heard them, like, in the context of the game. I feel like the middle part is super strong. Again, I don't have too many solid thoughts on the songs yet, because I'll do them. I don't know if I'll listen to A Step Away and Where We Belong on stream. I feel like those are more personal songs. Like, if I'm gonna get emotional, I'm not gonna get emotional listening to them on stream. So I might actually just listen to them in my own time, because we already know the composer for those. It's Mitsuda. It's listed in the credits, and I mean, it's quite obvious it's Mitsuda by style anyway, so... Every single vocal song for the main 3 games. Incorrect! Drifting Soul is by Ace. Ace does their first vocal song since Smash Ultimate. Alright, they did Beneath the Mask, that's right. Yeah, Ace did Drifting Soul. But yeah, I think the thing that makes them quite decidedly Mitsuda vocal pieces is the instrumentation. It's quite similar for the most part. I'd love to sit down and have a chat with you about music sometime, Ryan, because you've got some really, I don't know, I'd call them strange opinions with music, but I think it's because I'm a musician. I don't necessarily see music and hear music in the same way as I would if I wasn't, like, actively engaging with the medium, you know? Code of Princess. I haven't heard of that. I know Ace and Hiramatsu did, like, this, I think, web browser game at some point. I forgot what it was called. I listened to some of the music from that, was pretty nice. I think that was the only other project they did as Ace Plus. No, I think they were credited separately, actually. I find it interesting. I wonder what came to the whole Ace Plus group credit. Because now Hiramatsu works separately to them. It's a 3DS game that's been ported to Steam and Switch. Okay. I'll have to look into it. I wonder if the game... Was the soundtrack even released? Because I don't remember seeing it on their VGMDB page, but I'll check. Oh, it was. Yeah, it was just Ace, hey. Oh, it's released on Dog Year, so it's released on Uematsu system. What year was this? Hold up, let me check. I closed the page. It does say here. 2012. Oh, okay, so this was like right off Xenoblade 1. Or at least 2 years off, I should say. Maybe not right off. We're gonna continue walking through Ionios at the slow pace. Oh god. One track in Code of Princess sounds like a rejected unique monster theme. I'll check out the soundtrack sometime. Definitely has unique monster energy. Right. I mean, that's one thing. I guess I could talk about the music with this game. I kind of want Owen to be here for it, but I feel like I already said this, but I feel like Ace battle themes in Xenoblade 3 are very easy to pick out. That is Ace, right? For the most part, there's a few. I think most of the battle themes I can probably make an accurate guess on who did it. Although, actually, Ace didn't do any of the unique monster themes, I think. Well, I guess, no, they did the obstacle, those who get it stand against our path from Xenoblade 2, but is that really a unique monster theme? It sort of is, for a bit. But yeah, most of the unique monster themes are Hidematsu. Hidematsu did You Will Know Our Names and Recall Our Names. And I'm pretty sure he did You Will Know Our Names finale for this game, because, I mean, it makes sense. It is in Gormott and Uraya. After that, it is not. Also, I've gone past where I need to go to actually get up. So let me, like, head back. So we need to get to the Kevis area. The Kevis Castle area soon. Oh, no, it's Pentalus next, isn't it? That's right. Let's walk straight past this area, I think. Did I? I know. I don't really know the map here. Yeah, I did. Okay, I just walked off the path. I'm a big fan of how Xenoblade 2 and 3 frequently change up the battle themes, yeah. Hey, Henry, welcome! Welcome to the stream. Owen's just taking a break at the moment, so it's just me. He's got stuff to do, so we're just waiting. He should be getting back sometime soon. But it's just been me just kind of chatting to Brian at the moment, so hey, welcome to the stream. we've only talked about our thoughts on the combat so far. So we've still got, we want to talk about, what was it? Story? Later, hang on. What are we still waiting on? Level design is next, then we want to do story, and then I want to talk about the music. Owen gone? No, Owen's gonna get back. Don't worry. But yes.
Hi, I'm back.
There you go. He's back.
Were questions being asked?
I was just chatting to Brian, and Henry showed up today, so he's on the YouTube chat.
Hello.
Hello, Owen. Welcome back. I've just been chatting to Brian about random stuff, Xenoblade and not Xenoblade related.
Xenoblade X sucks. Xenoblade 3 is okay. Xenoblade 2 is peak.
Fuck you. Oh, well, actually, not for the last bit. Yeah, so I've been sort of hinting at sort of things I might think about some of the topics we want to still cover, but do you want to get started on level design then? Because I think we're going to disagree here.
I think the level design in this game is fine. I think it's good.
Fine. You just say fine.
Like, I don't feel too strongly about it anyway. Like, I feel strongly about how the world is, like, in terms of, like, the story and stuff like that. But in terms of the actual, like, way the areas are designed, I liked it more than 2, and I like 2 a lot. I just think 2 is, like, overly dense in a way, and not that it's a bad thing. It's just, like, some areas, like Gormott, take it a little too far. But no, this game it was good. I mean, there were plenty of secrets. Felt like some of the secret areas were a little obvious. That's about it. Like, some of them were kind of cool to find because they were at the end of very long tunnels or whatnot. The map system does not work. Please add locations to the game.
Oh god, yes. I still don't really know what I'm missing in Faunus because it's got to be a location I haven't been to.
Yeah. Please add them to the game. Otherwise, though, the actual act of exploring these areas has been fine. I really like them. I think that it can be janky at times, like to sail on the ship, but it also was janky to sail the ship in any Square RPG ever. So I'm willing to forgive it.
You're willing to forgive modern 2022 JRPG design because it's on par with 1999 JRPG design.
And let me ask you this question. Aside from Final Fantasy 15, when was the last time we've had an airship in a game like this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I just think it's funny in like a vacuum when you say it like that. But yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yes. Evil Car says, location names, where the fuck are you? Secret areas are sometimes very not so secret. Yeah, they're just not. Like, some of them, like the one at the edge of Faunus, the bluffs, like, it's like so easy. Just going to the border of the map.
Oh, you mean in Danik Desert?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. 7th gen almost killed JRPGs. Which was 7th gen again?
Xbox 360, PS3, Wii.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's just because no Japanese developer knew how to program in HD. Which is why everything went to the handhelds. It didn't die. It just went to handheld consoles.
That's true. There was a lot of handheld JRPGs. But yeah, okay, so I'm gonna bring this up first since you're not mentioning it. I think the world design takes a lot from X.
I didn't think
I feel the scale and just sort of how certain areas are designed with open areas. You got to, especially the Faunus region. There's so much open space to walk through.
I disagree because when I think X, I actually don't really think about the open spaces. When I think X, I think about the layered map design and like how you can see a place, but you have to figure out the puzzle of how to get there. And there are a couple areas like this in 3, but there's also areas like that in every Xeno game. X had it the strongest, especially in like areas like Noctilum, where you have to consistently like follow a tree and figure out where you're going. That's what I think of X's, like when I think of X's level design, I think of that, where it's like super, like very, very intricately designed, where it's like meant to be like a puzzle to figure things out, but not labyrinthian. Like everything's very clearly in sight. It's up to you to figure out the way you want to get there. Xenoblade 3 does not have that. It's big, and that's about it. It legitimately just feels like a couple Xenoblade Chronicles 1's areas just stapled together. That's about all I can say.
Right. That's another way of putting it, I think. But I think for me, it's like I think because my biggest criticism with the ironically, my biggest criticism of the level design in this game is I feel at times it is too big. You know, and I've talked to you about this before. I feel like the movement speed you're given at the start of the game doesn't correlate to how big the maps can be at times. And I don't think that's a problem when you're exploring, but when you're doing side quests, you get from point A to point B, and to get to point B, you have the closest fast travel point is like 1,000 meters away. Right. I do think fast travel locations are not put in very convenient or obvious places, and there is also way too many of them that are stacked next to each other. So like colonies. Why do colonies get like 3 to 4 fast travel points, and then there's like 2 in an area far away from it? Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think that the fast travel points are placed in places where it doesn't matter, right? Like here's the biggest example I can think of. There is no reason to have a camp underneath the Nopon coin shop, because that's a fast travel point. Yes. And there's a few instances of that throughout the game. Yeah, where it's like, I guess for like a first time exploration it's fine, but that I wouldn't really consider that the point of landmarks. The point of landmarks is to make easy backtracking, and there are some areas where it's just like it's repetitive. Like there are some areas where there's too many, and there's some areas where it's too few. I don't think the size of the world is necessarily the issue. I thought it was big and empty, but not really for design reasons, more for story related and world building reasons. Which we'll get to. Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one way of putting it. I still felt like, God, this world would be so much more fun to traverse if we had actual movement options. And I think Stormbringer has kind of really ruined it for me, like Monolith movement. I didn't think twice about this in Xenoblade 2, but God, fucking damn it, you move so slow at times. Especially like the climbing speed. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say the one donkey reference I'll say this entire stream. Sorry, Mia, I know you're about to die, but I gotta go do 3 more potato quests so I can swim 3% faster. Yeah, I understand why they do like movement speed upgrades like this, but I hope for the next game they don't do upgrades in the same way they did in Xenoblade 2 and 3, where you have to like grind to get a movement speed upgrade. You know? I think 2's did it better because there's just more of them to get. Yeah, because they're smaller. You don't like, especially for movement speed, you don't notice it, right? It's much smaller. I think they could do for more stacking, because like they let you do insane stacking with quick step gems in Xenoblade 1, and I kind of prefer the way Xenoblade 1 did it. Well, I'm not saying that they should do quick step gems again, but I think if they should be able to let us get to max speed as seen in quick step gems. Because I don't think we've gotten there yet. No, I don't think so. No, I think with with this game, I really felt like it was a slog to get from point A to point B in a lot of instances, rather than like Xenoblade 2. While I move slow, I think like you talked about the levels kind of being designed, kind of being dense, and I think that kind of helped when I was like going from place to place. I had a lot more to look at and a lot more to get distracted by. This game, it just kind of feels like you're either going to one point or you're focusing on explorer. Like you're either focusing on going somewhere or you're focusing on just exploring the map, and it's hard to multitask both. Right. Yeah, that's fair. And again, like I said, Stormbringer, you move painfully slow. And ever since I played that game, I feel like Monolith movement has been ruined for me to some degree. Because it's like, I wouldn't have thought twice about it if I didn't play that game. And now I'm like, oh God, Xenoblade has the same sort of slow movement as Stormbringer does until you get movement speed boosts. Except for X, which is why I keep saying, I think we need like X-style movement. Maybe not necessarily scales, especially maybe not a flight module, because I know how you feel about that, Owen, but like...
It's bad.
At least let us have some variety in movement other than just running at the fastest speed we possibly can. At least let us, like, have a sprint button to, like, a toggleable sprint button that lets us, like, change our movement speed, a jump height that changes with our movement speed. I think that does a lot, honestly.
I think there should be more. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, the series is infinitely better than like something like Xenosaga with that movement speed.
Oh god, yeah, Xenosaga, yeah. I mean, like, I do think it does stem back to like Xenosaga though, because it's like, I think the only game Monolith has really gotten movement right in is at least 3D movement is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Xenogears is kind of more forgivable because it is more of a top-down JRPG, even though it is like. It is still a 3D environment because it's a PS1.
Xenogears is made with the Square philosophy, not necessarily a Monolith philosophy.
Yes,
and like you can tell, it's more polished in a lot more areas than something like Xenosaga. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think we need more movement options. I mean, I'm not going to say no to them, but I don't necessarily think we need them. I mean, the auto run feature is back, which I'm happy about. That's a little weird in how they implemented it. But I am with you that we need more physics-based things, because that is unironically one of the best things about 1 and 2. It's the fact that
the fucking ice.
there's the ice, but then there's also like the sand slides and like that. It's more like the level design was more inherently fun to traverse. Like there were more things. Like there were shortcuts. They designed shortcuts to make things go faster. And like this game also has rail grinding, but that feels more like this is the section where you go fast. And even then, that's more of a spectacle, and they only use it for like 5 areas outside of Keva's castle. And 2 of those were in Arethia Sea.
Yep.
And the other one, and 2 others were in Mactha Wildwood. So really, we're only looking at like side areas that like maybe it's like a way to get to a place, and they're not really there for fun. Like there's not a lot of fun traversing in this game.
Yeah, I definitely feel that's a good way to describe it. I think most of the time it's going from point A to point B.
Yeah, it's because like Xenoblade 2 had like Alba Kavanich, which had the funnest thing ever, and also the original rail grinding, and that had the crates, and that was just really interesting, and there were unique monsters to fight you, and that was really stressful. And then there was Phantomima, which had the big water slide, which was itself a challenge, and also just really fun to try and get down to the lower levels. Obviously, there's Valak Mountain. Not even Valak Mountain, Satoral Marsh had some stuff like that, where there's like rock climbing on like waterfalls and stuff like that. That's pretty fun. And there are also a lot of areas in those games 1 and 2 where you didn't mind the slow speed because what you were looking at was very interesting to look at, I guess is the best way I could describe it. Like 1 and 2 have a lot of walking vistas where it's like you can see the vista as you're walking. Like I'm thinking the walk up to the walk up to Phantomima in Xenoblade 2, the view of the waterfalls in Xenoblade 1. There's a lot of views like that in those games, and Xenoblade 3 has a couple of them, mostly in Pentelis, which is, in my opinion, the most beautiful region.
I thought you said Cadencio.
Cadencio. Pentelis has the big waterfalls with cataracts. Pentelis, like, I wouldn't call it my favorite area. I still think Cadencia is my favorite region, but I think Pentelis is the most beautiful to look at and the most visually interesting.
But yeah, go on.
But yeah, so there's not like, and when you're immersed in those otherwise, suddenly the way that movement is handled in those games suddenly doesn't matter as much, because it's just kind of breathtaking to look at. But the game this Xenoblade 3 really doesn't take too many, like, what I would call, like, it doesn't have any beautiful areas, or like in that way where it's like it feels like it's bursting with creativity. Like again, Araya or Satoral Marsh or Valak Mountain or Aerith Sea. Arithia, like again, Arithia and Pentelis, the waterfalls, those areas are kind of on that line. But other than that, it's just kind of a lot of fields. It's like if you play
I feel like you describe Xenoblade Chronicles X as you describe X as level design is quite vertical with like map stacking and all that, right?
Yeah.
I think if X is vertical, I think this is horizontal.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's like if the entire game was Bionis Leg, which is not a good thing because Bionis Leg is great, but it's great because of where it's placed. It's placed right at the beginning of the game after a bunch of tight areas where you can really feel the openness. And then when you get sick of it, you go into Sartorial Marsh and then the game captivates you again. And then they do it again for Macno Forest with the waterfalls, and they do it again with Aerith Sea with the Hyantia and the looks, and then they do it again with Valak Mountain with the glowing lights. And at that point, you're sold on the story, and you're just going to keep going. And I think the interior of the Mechonis is really, really interesting. Likewise, in Xenoblade 2, Gormat is placed in Chapter 2, and right after that is Uriah, and then after that is you have the incredible music of Moradane, which that was not a coincidence. They did it because it was a bit more of a bland area, intentionally. And then you go like there's like Indul, which is very like regal, which we hadn't really seen before, and then in Blade at least. And then we go to Tantal, which is a completely different spin on a snow area compared to Valak Mountain in a also very beautiful way. And then we're in Moratha, and then suddenly the game's crazy. Xenoblade 3 doesn't really have anything like that. It is just grassland to desert land to grassland to dingy cavern to kind of pretty waterfall area to interesting sci-fi forest to into how did they make Aerith Sea boring into that is what I think of Kevis Castle into honestly one of the most interesting areas in the game before Sword March. It's really beautiful and really green and really colorful, and you see none of it because it lasts like 5 minutes, and then you're in the sea, which is cool, but it's also like kind of exhausting in a mini game in itself. And then you have the snow area, which is the most bland snow area in this entire series.
I kind of like Capricorn Peak because I did actually notice the area from like Everblight Plain a while ago. I'm like, wait, how do I get up there? Right? Mm-hmm. And then when I got there, I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense now. That was nice. But I don't really remember it for Capricorn Peak, like the actual area itself. It is the most boring snow area in the series. I like it for one reason, and that's because it makes the flute playing scene with Miyabi at night really cool looking. I like the atmosphere that exudes, like Colony Omega. But other than that, it is just a snow area. So, like, if you're asking me what my favorite areas in this game are, I would say definitely Cadencia, because that has the tiny swamp, which is too tiny, but it looks really cool. It has the interior of the Mechonis Sword, which is pretty cool looking. It's like a bunch of tunnels and hidden passageways. And then you have Arithia Sea, which is very big, but I also think it's very interesting. And it combines, like, my favorite area from Xenoblade 2 with one of my favorite areas from Xenoblade 1, and they keep the essence, so that's okay. And then I like the waterfall areas in Pentalus, as well as a little bit of the Macthia Wildwood. I don't think it's particularly beautiful, but I think it's at least cool to be in, because exploring ruins are cool. But like that is, I would say, at like 40% of the game. 60% is Mario level genericism, in my opinion. That's a really deep jab, actually.
Forest area, desert area, snow area.
Yeah. I feel I do get it though. I kind of can agree with that. I do really like Elai's Highway, but that's also an optional area.
Yeah, I like. Is that the area where the Magna Village plays? Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, that area is pretty good. I do like that area. It's a little dingy and like gray, but it's at least more interesting than anything else in Fornus.
My biggest problem with remembering the location names is no location names on the map and multiple biomes on the same region. I guess, yeah, that's part of it, actually. I remember them now because of the song names. At least what we have on YouTube at the moment, because they're all fan-made titles, so it's not like we actually know what they're going to be called. Not optional because Chapter 7 quest. Oh, true. I forgot you do that, but you're like there for like 5 minutes. If you've been there before, I suppose.
Also, I just realized something. Atia Upper is the quote-unquote snow area of this game, right? Mm-hmm. That is what, in theory. The crater of the Mechonis Sword is way more interesting. And it's literally just a crater. but I've been like,
That's
I mean, I
true,
guess I'm
actually. I think I'd agree.
I would argue when one of the cool moments about I think the settlements in this game are amazing. Like I can remember every settlement city number and or Greek letter, and I know which hero was in that and what story went on there. I think they did very well in the settlements. But one of the coolest moments for me that merged that was I went to the top of Makana's sword and at the top of the city when it was still there, and it was snowing outside, and I could see everything. I'm like, this is really cool. I feel really high up. And then the city moves, but the snow area remains, and you can go there, and there's really high level enemies there, and that's really cool. I thought that's a really cool area. It's optional though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As a side note, I just found Doran and Bam Bam again. I didn't realize they reappear here, so I just want to quickly talk to them. Is that all right?
Go for it. Yeah, I found these guys.
The world's kind of ending right now. What is Doran saying? If the world ends, surely travels will end. No world for traveling in. Well, yeah. I guess I'll put a stop to the smart mouth. All right, what's Bam Bam have to say? It's the same, but it still had the icon. Anyway, that's it. Cool. Nice to see them doing well. All right. Sorry about that.
Well, I don't think I have anything else to say on the level design. I think gameplay-wise, it sounds... Oh, one last thing. Right. Why are there invisible walls in this game?
Are there?
Yes. You can't go back to Colony 9 after you leave it.
Oh, right. Oh, you mean for story reasons, yeah.
Yeah. And you can't... when you're doing Valdi's quest, you can't go out the cave.
Yes, I remember the cave. I don't understand the cave.
That was stupid.
That was weird. But,
yeah, I don't know why they... Yeah, if I'm gonna be set back, let me be set back. I'll just warp back anyways. There's nothing plot relevant out there.
Yeah, I think also the fucking Everblight plane at the very beginning of the game, it's like, okay,
yes.
Why can I not just explore?
Well, that wasn't okay. I think I'm a little more sound on that because there's a lot of items back there that are guarded by level 40 enemies that are kind of are balanced with level 40 in mind. So that's slightly more okay. Because you're not being blocked by a literal invisible wall. You're being blocked by, you're stopped. A party member says, we need to go back to Colony 9, and then you go back. And, that's more okay. That's like if you could explore Sword Valley at the beginning of Xenoblade 1. I'm more okay
Actually,
on
no,
that.
that's true.
I'm more okay on that. I'm not so upset about that. But after Everblight Plain, that every time there's an invisible, I just felt like this isn't Xenoblade. That was my legitimate feeling. This doesn't feel like what Xenoblade should be because the only ever time they've used invisible walls is in boss fights.
Yes.
To
yeah,
make sure
I was about to
run
say.
Away from them.
Yeah. Yeah. Me re-engaging the fucking highest level super boss to hear the music, and then suddenly going oh wait, I can't just run away from this fight. So I just had to sit there and wait to die.
Yeah.
It was so dumb because that happened off stream, I think.
It's weird. It is weird sometimes. I think about this game, how much they learned from X, and I would argue that Xenoblade 2 is taking a lot of what X does and fixing all of the fundamentally flawed stuff. And a lot of X's fundamental issues, in my opinion, come from making Xenoblade 1 again, but just way bigger. And Xenoblade 2 fundamentally changes a lot of that. 3 kind of backtracks a little bit, but not so much that it becomes unbearable except some of the collectible stuff. But at the same time, they introduce new issues, which were never issues in the previous games, and I don't know how they do that. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I get that. I think overall, 3 has been this mix of, wow, this is so good, but...
Yeah.
I think that's just generally how I feel about the game. It's I would say, I've said this already, but I think it slightly nudges out 1 and 2 as my favorite game. But there's so many other, it's only by very small margin. It's I like the good stuff in this game slightly more, I think. But it's a completely different, for completely different reasons to why I like 1 and 2.
Right.
So it's I don't think it replaces it. I just like it slightly more. I like these elements slightly more. You know?
Yeah, whereas I'm very harsh on the, like, my philosophy when I go into a game is that, like, the concept or the story needs to be well executed, and the gameplay should supplement that. I think Xenoblade 1 and 2 do this very well, where it's like, I consider 1 and 2 to be the best stories I've played in a game and best told, and their mechanics support this with the visions in 1 and the blade system in 2.
So is that our cue to talk about the story now? Because
I want to talk about side content first, because I think it's very good.
I feel like I can't talk about the side content without talking about the story for a few reasons.
Okay, then sure, let's talk about the story
we can kind of put it together, right?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it everything at once then. So, story. I think the story sucks. Like, okay, that might be a little harsh. I think this story has really cool ideas, and it has some very good scenes, but none of it comes together.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I would say I'm sort of feeling similar, but at the same time, I did quite like the story. It's just very straightforward. It's kind of derivative, and it doesn't necessarily have the same punch as some of the other Xeno games. But I don't want to really compare it to the other Xeno games, because I actively hate when people like compare 1 and 2. I don't want to get into that. But
I don't necessarily want to.
I don't think there's one big missing thing from this story at the moment, which it's like there's no like big Xeno moment, like no like sci-fi lore world meta sort of exploration lore exposition dump.
There's no genre twist.
Yeah, there's no genre twist. There's nothing like that. It's like I think there's sort of a genre twist at the end with the arc, but it's like at this point, because this is set based on the back of 1 and 2, you can kind of expect the final area is going to be this big sci-fi sort of thing. But the game was already pretty sci-fi with all the mechs from the get-go, right?
Yeah, like it's not hiding anything.
No.
There's also no strong villain in this game.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But generally, I think I can't really assess the story properly until the DLC comes out, because
I disagree, because Xenoblade 2 was my favorite game before Torna came out, and I mean
well,
that genuinely.
see, the difference here is Torna feels like, oh, we don't have time to put this into the main story, so we'll do it as an expansion later on. This feels like, oh, we are going to do an expansion, so let's leave some of these plot details for the expansion.
I understand where you're coming from,
like,
and
I also understand where you're coming from. It's like, that's just one perspective on the matter, I feel.
So, there are things that I agree, like, they probably don't matter as much as some people want them to matter. Like, I think we both agree that, like, we expect the DLC to be about the 7, right? The original 7 Ouroboros, right? The Legacy of the 7.
I don't necessarily agree, because I don't know if that's actually what they want to do.
I don't know if that's what they want to do there, but that's my current going forward, right?
Because I like, part of me feels like, okay, a prequel would be good. I mean, I don't see them doing a sequel, but I feel like...
No.
I feel like it's a bit predictable, and it's like, well, if they were to do a DLC expansion, how could they... And I don't feel like there's enough... I mean, I guess it's again, like I said, it's different in Torna's case, because they already had that written, but like...
Or Riku's side story.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, like, they could do an expansion set at the same time, because how much is... like, I don't feel there's as much basis for a prequel story in this, because we already know we're in a never-ending loop. So there's only so much a prequel story can add to this. At least this is how I feel at the moment. There's only so much a prequel story could add to the current story without feeling like they're retreading the same sort of concepts. Because at least the way I got what I understood from this is it feels like Noah's been kind of going through the same thing every single life cycle, right? And even if we were to do the original Ouroboros, I don't think that's going to change much.
The original Ouroboros were implied to be, I know 2 of them are implied to be like the descendants of Noah and Mio's children, according to the wiki at least. And the other 4, I'm pretty sure one of them is at least some kind of reference to Dunban, or at least like is meant to like give the vibe of Dunban. In which case, that's another thing I need to talk about. The game is very picky and choosy about what it wants to be a vibe of like a nostalgic vibe and what it wants to be a direct like reference. And you can't really cross those when you're doing a sequel like this.
Yeah, okay, I did feel like that.
So I want to make sure that the people listening to this actually understand what we wanted from the story. I did not want this to be a nostalgia fest. I actually wanted this to be a completely original thing that used the Xenoblade 1 and 2 thing as an aesthetic. Maybe one or two characters would return.
Yeah,
and largely that is what we got.
Yeah,
right?
I think Owen and I both, like, when we first saw that first reveal trailer, I don't think I've mentioned this a bit on Twitter and to a few close friends, but that first reveal trailer honestly made me really fucking pessimistic about this game. I'm like, oh god, I'm probably not gonna like this, am I? Because when they showed like Nia and Melia, cool, I'm glad they're returning. But then there's also that lingering worry that overtook me, and it's like, oh god, people are going to be excited for this game only for Nia and Melia. People are going to like want to see fan service, and I was concerned Monolith was going to do something crazy with their characters and like mess everything up, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, I trust Monolith, but there's always that lingering worry, because it's like, when you're doing this based on Xenoblade 1 and 2, when the previous two games really didn't have any of that, like, none of the previous Xeno games really, apart from Saga, really had any returning elements that sort of was implicatively necessary for the story, right?
Right. I mean, like, the best part about Xenoblade 2, in my opinion, is that I think, like, the way that they handle, like, previous references, it's, they handle it as, like, you don't need to know about any of this, because 90% of the people who played Xenoblade 2 for the first time had never even heard of what the hell Xenogears and Xenosaga were. And like, a further 8% of that had probably, well, okay, be more generous, but like 20% of the people who played Xenoblade 2 for the first time had probably ever watched Xenoblade 1, and maybe a little bit, or played Xenoblade 1, and maybe a little bit more that have ever, like, seen a Let's Play of it or something, right? That's fine, because it doesn't, it's not, you're not doing it as a callback, you're doing it because it's a natural way to do the story. Right, like, Klaus and the Conduit both, I think, add to Xenoblade 2's narrative without, like, relying on Xenoblade 1 or Gears and Saga's narratives. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Okay. So
I think the other thing is, like, people want, it's weird with 2, because especially people who played 2 and then got into Gears and Saga because of 2, right? Mm-hmm. They seem to want it to be more related to Gears and Saga than it actually is.
Yeah, I think 2 is, like, after playing this game, it's very obvious that 2 is about the most direct that we're going to get to Saga references with the Conduit, Cosmos, and Telos. We might see the Conduit in a future game, but it will likely be, like, the most original Xenoblade since X. Like, there will be no other references, I think. Because that's how Takahashi's described 3. It's like he considers this like a conclusion, which means if he directs any more games in this series, the only thing I could imagine them bringing back is the Zohar. I can't imagine them bringing anything else back.
Yeah, makes sense.
Except maybe the Monada motif, because that's been in every game at this point.
Yeah, the red sword. You can't really escape that with Xenoblade, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I do actually like the implication that the reds, like, both the veiled, what's it called? The veiled, whatever nose sword's called, and the Lucky 7. I like the fact that they're not the centers of the story. I like the fact that they're more tools.
Noah's red sword has a name.
Yeah, it's called the Veiled. It has 2 names, actually, depending on if you upgrade or not. I think its upgrade name is called the Truth Seeker, and its original one is called, every blade in the game has a name. It's called the Veiled.
Where do you find this information? Because I did not know this.
Wiki. It's on the wiki.
Is it like in the game files or something?
I have no idea. Look up Blade XC3.
Veiled Sword. It's just Veiled Sword, apparently. According to Brian.
Yeah, Veiled Sword or the Truth Singer is what Noah's weapon is.
Interesting.
Mio's is called the Jewel Moon Blades or the Sun Dancers. Uni's is the Gun Rod, obviously, or the Caduceus Gun Rod. I think actually they give the upgraded names in the game through the side quest. Tyon has the Spell Tags or the Mondo, and the Spell Tags Mondo, and then he has Spell Tags Totality. Shield Blade and then the Adamant Shell for land. Senna has the Comet Mallet into the Meteor Smasher for Senna. That's a really cool name, actually. Ethel has the Dual Rapiers. Valdi has the Relief Rifle. Xeon has the Gutsy Gladius. Teach has the Martial Link Staff. Rika and Manana have the Variable Arms. Gray has the Gun Drones. Izzard has a Disc Launcher. Juniper has the luminescent bow, Ashera has the twin saber, Alexandra has the exponential edge, Monica has the defense mace, Fiona has the war standard, Triton has the mimic knuckles, Gondor has the turbo cestus, Miyabi has the Sikken ivy, Kamaravi has the heat shimmer spear, that's a cool name, Sagiri has the Dumaxes, Nia has the anima sword, and Melia has the elemental staff.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I should mention, I just wanted to mention this. I like the fact that the sword, the quote unquote Xenoblade in this game, doesn't actually matter that much to the story. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I felt that from all the, like, when I saw the key art and I'm like, the sword isn't like front and center, I'm like, okay, I don't think there's going to be as much emphasis on the sword. And that's why, like, I feel the most comfortable calling this the Xenoblade rather than like the Minato or the Aegis, where those feel like their own really like important things for those stories. This one's just like, okay, I don't mind calling it the funny Xenoblade this time.
Yeah.
You know?
I 100% agree. And I do like the Lucky 7 and the Veiled Sword. I think those are cool. They're cool looking weapons, and they have cool, like, side narrative purposes that don't really matter too much to the main story. However, I do have 2 central issues with it. 1, in the later half of the game, they treat the sword like it's important when it's not.
They do that at the start as well. I rewatched the opening cutscene where Mio and Noah were fighting. They were like, "Oh, look at this sword!" And then there's like the sound from the sword, and it's
the vibration. And he was reacting to the Ouroboros stone because of the origin metal that the sword is made out of.
Right.
That's okay.
Okay.
I think that's okay because that's foreshadowing the fact that he has something hidden in the sword. But as soon as Chapter 6 hits, when they start referencing that it's called the Sword of the End, and he can pull the Sword of Origin out of his chest and whatnot, then, and like in Colony Omega, where they bring up the fact that the Sword of the End is suddenly important, and then they go like literally an hour later, and Nia says it's just like a plaything. It's lying to the audience in a way into how you should treat this thing, because I was expecting, for the first half of the game, I was treating it as like, okay, this is just a tool in the arsenal. It's special because it's like not a summonable blade weapon. Cool, and we'll just live with that, and it can cut through anything. Sure, why not? And then they try and make it special, and then they take it away, and that doesn't work. And the other thing is that there's no other central motif that runs throughout the entire game that could take the place of the sword. For the first half of the game, it would be the flutes. They drop it after Chapter 6. The flutes don't matter after you rescue Miyabi. At all. Except, well, Chris matters, I guess, kind of. But... Kind of. I have issues with Chris. But the flute doesn't actually tie into, like, the end of the game. It doesn't have any kind of... Like, it doesn't... Like, the flute stops at a point, and they just stop caring about it. And I don't know how to feel about that, because I think the game is at its best story-wise whenever the flutes are involved. I just believe that.
I can totally agree with that one, I think.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of Xenogears, when like Takahashi was saying that like he was afraid that the game wasn't coming together, and then Mitsuda added the music, and then suddenly it was working for him. Xenoblade 3 story does not work unless you have this music motif. It doesn't necessarily need to be flutes, but this idea of like music, and like the game toys around with non-violence a couple times, as like a very valid way of approaching the world, like non-violence, very like for like the living people and stuff like that. The game toys with that, and it's cool that they do it, and I think the music is a cool way to frame it, but they don't go all the way. They bring it out when it's convenient, or as like the ending chapter motif for the first 5 chapters.
Wait. No way, hold on. Chapter 2 has that end. No, Chapter 2 doesn't end with the flute.
It doesn't?
No, because you've got the Ethel fight.
It's at the beginning of Chapter 3, but that is the consul death. They mourn the consul death that was running Ethel's colony.
Right, but they don't send him off, do they? No.
They do.
I thought they didn't, because Lance stopped them and said, you're not going to do it for this guy.
No, they did it for him. They did it they did it for just him. They did it for Van Damme, they did it for that consul, they did it for the mud puppets.
Yes, I remember the mud puppets.
They did it for Kamaravi and Ethel in their mechs.
Yep.
and they did it for Mio.
Yes. That's true. Jesus Christ. Holy crap.
Yeah, so the only one that they don't, like, I know what you're talking about, like, they didn't do it for the console. They didn't do it for the console that died in the process of Kamaravi and Ethel dying.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah, I think that it's a cool motif to end a chapter on, but they don't go all the way. And that's what bothers me. They stop caring, like, main plot-wise, after you get Mio back in the party with long hair.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, it's used in the Miyabi cutscene, which is admittedly a touching scene, and they do in the Chris cutscene, which is payoff and no setup. But they stop caring about it in the main story.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Do we consider those Mio's and Noah's side stories as main story, though?
I don't know. I don't know where to place those. I'm gonna say yes for the sake of how the series has typically gone, because there are some side quests that you really need to do, but I don't know, man. For the sake of like what the story motif is doing, there is a flute solo at the end of every chapter, but they stop at chapter 5.
Yeah.
That sucks. That legitimately sucks, because I think that the flute is a more interesting motif than the Lucky 7, and that's how the story wanted to position it. But it doesn't, and I have a lot of issues with both the content of the story and the way it's told, because nothing is explained in this game. Everything is super vague, and also I need to fight the unique monster again. Give me a second. Let me hit A twice.
Yeah, we can talk about that though, right?
Yeah. It's nothing's explained in this game. Like, I have so many questions. Where did the Lucky 7 come from? Why does N have it? Good question from I don't know your real name. Bricklight.
That's Henry. He swapped to Twitch.
Yeah. Why does N have it? I don't know. What the hell is the Sword of Origin? What caused the Ouroboros stones to come in? There's a lot of stuff to handle with, like, okay, so you say that if a person reaches their homecoming, they are exempt from the reincarnation cycle. So why did Noah and Mio come back? Also,
well, no, I think what that was is if they get sent off during the homecoming, if they die without being sending off, they get put back. But if they get sent off with the flute,
I'm talking about, like, I guess so, but I guess I'm talking about like when Noah and Mio's lifespans run out.
Yeah.
In the flashback with the child.
But that wasn't with the flute or anything. They just kind of died.
That's fine.
That's how I interpreted that one, at least.
Okay, I could see that. But there's also, like, why are there Noah and Mio's when their essences haven't returned to the cycle? And I know they said it's like the regrets or whatever, but what does that mean? That's an inconsistent rule that they don't apply for the entire rest of the game. There's also questions I have about, like, remember I was talking about vibe versus callbacks? There are characters in this game that are associated with other characters that appeared in Xenoblade 1 and 2, but I have no idea how they exist in this game. There's you and Zuo in that accompany Van Damme in at the beginning of the game, and then at the end of in the post game there is Melia's attendant Isel, who is a character from Xenoblade 1, reappears in 3, I think has a different design and a different name, but is still Isel.
No, but in Xenoblade 1 he died.
Yeah, he does die in Xenoblade 1. And
Yeah.
there's also things like there's characters in this game that are deliberately callbacks to characters in 1 and 2. Ashira is a callback to Dunban. Dirk is a callback to Mumkar. Mumkar, we know, is definitely dead. So how is his essence back in the stream? Is this a vibe reference or is this a direct reference?
Yeah.
And that's where this is where it starts
Dirk,
getting messy.
with Dirk for me was interesting because I didn't even pick up it was meant to be like a vibe Mumkar thing. It's like I saw the claws, but I didn't associate that with Mumkar necessarily because I'm just like, oh, they're just weapons, right? And Mumkar like wasn't that insane about killing people. He was just like, oh, I want to be in the glory, right? You know, it's not the same, so I didn't even pick up it was Mumkar, right? Whereas Ashira was quite clearly dumbbound because you get to see all of her arts and all that, right?
Well, it's more than her art. It's more like she has like a similar darker skin tone. She has the same hair color. She has I don't think their eye color is the same, but they're very similar.
Yeah, I was thinking about Gord. He also has claws.
Yeah, that's true. But the reason why I bring this up is because this is what I'm talking about. Like, the game isn't consistent because it has these, which if this is what they wanted to do, Cool. Luca is in Xenogears. Whatever. But they also have Nia and Melia in the game. They have direct references to several areas in Xenoblade 1. There's an entire side quest dedicated to the history of the world of Xenoblade 1 and 2. And those are obvious. Yes, it's the one. It's required in Sagiri's quest line. The writer's block quest. You go around collecting a metal face. You go around. I have these in screenshots. Let me pull them out.
I didn't even pay attention to that. I just went and got them.
Yeah. They're key items, and you're stopped by the Sagiri robots. Let me find them. Hold on. I take too many screenshots.
Yeah. I look. You bring up Vandam, Zuo, and you, right? Those I'm willing to pass off as like a Sid thing. It's like, oh, yeah, we've had a Vandam in every game. Zuo and Yua in Xenoblade 2 as his sidekicks, so may as well just kind of keep that tradition going. It's a new sort of thing we can have as a tradition, right?
But Aizel is what pushes me over. That makes me start questioning.
I mean, Aizel's interesting because I didn't even remember about Aizel until you brought it up to me.
Okay, got it. Okay, so there's sorry, I'm gonna read these. In the Murthia Wildwoods, Moritha, you get the Grimy Identification, an ID card-like object found near the Spring of Ronar Pentelis region. There's a leathery wing fossil, a fossil reminiscent of a wing from Condensia's Eternal Canopy. I think that's implied to be like a Telethia or something. Yeah,
that sounds right to me. I remember this because you know why I remember this is because I got the items and I handed them in, and after I handed them, it's like, damn it, wait, I should have checked the descriptions.
And then there's the Rusted Pressure Helm, which is a helmet-like object found in Fornus's Dana Desert. I think there's another one. Hold on, I feel like I chose the wrong one. Hold on. The Grimy Identification is definitely it. Hold on. The Sinister Faceplate, that's what it was. Sinister Faceplate, a face-like metal plate found in Fornus's distant fingertip. That's pretty overt.
That's pretty overt, yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I say, like, it's inconsistent, because there's stuff like that in the game, and then there's things like Ashira and Dirk and Aizel. And, like, if it's like, and, like, there are others that was like, yeah, the Van trilogy, that's consistent with the entire series, sure. But they go further, and that's where I start asking questions. And obviously, the game doesn't explain anything.
And I think both of us feel like it's weird because the world's purpose in the story isn't really there. It's just kind of the setting.
There is no reason for the world to be the way it is. Like, literally, it is like you could have just said Xenoblade 1 and 2 world mashup, and you could have an endless grassy plain, and the story elements would be like, yep.
Yeah, I feel that, like, I'm almost wondering what the purpose of having the two worlds combined was, actually. Now that you put it like that. Because, like, it's like, this could have been any other world. Right?
Why did it have to be... Why do you have to do... Like, I know you're doing it for the Melia Nia, like, fan service clickbait, but, like, why? And also,
I don't mind Melia coming back. I think Future Connected did give her some space to grow. Whereas Nia, I feel...
Oh yeah, Melia is a way better character in this game than Nia is, honestly.
Yeah.
I like
can we talk about this? The hero quest for both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Melia's is so much more substantial than Nia's. Nia's just like, oh yes, this is stuff from our previous world, and that's it. Like, Nia just... Because I'm glad they handled it that way, because Nia doesn't need anything. She got everything she needed for her character in Xenoblade 2.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, then why is she in this game? She's in this game because people like her and people felt sorry for her. That's really the only reason.
I kind of feel the same, right? Whereas like, Melia felt like, okay, it makes sense. She outlived everyone else and she's feeling kind of sad about it, you know?
Yeah, like, yeah, legitimate, like, and also there's like the Xenoblade, they straight up brought Xenoblade Definitive Edition cutscenes in this game, which is kind of funny.
I like to make the joke that the only reason, also there was a cursor apparently on one of those cutscenes. I don't know if there was a meme or if there was actually a cursor in that flashback, but it seems because like there was Sorry?
I think it's using, I'm curious of what engine Xenoblade Definitive Edition is running on now, because it seems like a modified version of the XCX engine that will allow for displaying of PNGs. because that's basically because Future Connected does the exact same thing, has several PNG moments, and Xenoblade 3 has a couple PNG moments.
Right. The way I've understood it is it's always just been an updated version of every engine ever since X. So they made it an engine for X. They updated it for 2. They updated it for Torna. I don't know. I believe they updated it for Definitive Edition as well, actually. Which is why the physics are more similar to 2, like the jumping physics are more similar to 2 than original 1. So I'm pretty sure they just keep updating the same engine at this point.
I mean, I don't see why not.
But I'm not sure about 3 because the audio engine seems to be, or the way the audio is programmed seems to be very strange.
Yeah. But, yeah, so, yeah, Melia is way better of a character in this game. Like, legitimately, I thought Nia was honestly kind of boring, and I don't know why they brought her. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Nia, but I liked Nia more in Xenoblade 2 than I liked Melia in Xenoblade 1. But I was shocked to find out that I liked Melia way more in this game than I thought I would than Nia in this game.
I feel that. I think I said this in my streams when I was playing through the game. When we got to meet Nia, and like she had the whole cutscene about talking about everything, I'm like, okay, I like that they're handling her as a mentor character, not giving her her own sort of like worries. Because like you've talked about this in previous, like for other games we've played, right? You've talked about how you like when returning characters are handled as mentors rather than as like characters that need sort of development, like in JoJo, right?
JoJo, Neo the Runs With You is another great choice in this regard.
But with this one, when Nia, like I got there, I'm like, okay, I like that she's being handled more as a mentor character rather than this character's here to have another sort of midlife crisis or whatever. But I kind of sat there during those cutscenes, and I don't know if it was the pacing of like the first few cutscenes with Nia or whatnot. I just kind of sat there like, okay, she's just kind of there.
I also like, what was the point of taking her to the Makana sword? Like, I understand like she feels at home in places that feel like the sky, so like the cloud sea. So like, sure.
The way
why?
There's 2 interpretations I have for that. One is, she wants to be close to the clouds for the cloud sea, or 2, she wants to go to a higher place because she was trying to get to Elysium with Rex and everyone. Those are the 2 ways I'd interpret it, but I can't say either of them would be accurate. And then there's the whole cutoff with, to me, you're with Mio and Nia. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I think generally, Melia was handled so much better as a returning character than Nia was. Like, it's weird because they did more with Melia, but I feel like Future Connected allowed them to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Future Connected was actually like, Future Connected continues to be like the most nothing Xeno game in the world, but also it does feel more justified after playing Xenoblade 3 because like the fog beasts were like they don't, okay, you have to like look at the visuals to put this together, but like the annihilation effect happens whenever there's Kevis and Angus energy colliding with each other, and that creates like black fog and the annihilation effect. It's implied that that is what was the fog beasts in Xenoblade 1, and it was more to allude to the coming of the fusing of the worlds. And that could happen. That's my reading on it, and I think that was handled. The game doesn't explain anything, but that was one of the clearer things in the game to me.
Yeah, I still didn't really realize. I still don't really know what's going on with the fucking fog beast. Also, enemies are attacking me. Sorry. Like I thought about it as like, oh, are these like especially the Fog King as well? Is that like meant to be an early form of like Zed or something? You know?
Origin wasn't made by that point.
No, it wasn't. But like Zed is a concept, right?
I have so many points about Zed. Okay.
Because this is likely going to be our longest point. We're still going on story, right?
Yeah.
Because we should...
I have critiques. I want to talk about villains in a sec, but I do want to bring up a couple more things that I just want to say that I have issue with. So, okay. So, my favorite scene in the game is the conversation between Lance and Senna. That is the that's when they're the mighty weaklings. That's a really good scene. My second favorite scene of the game is when Mio storms off on Noah before the flute exchanging scene. Because I relate to that heavily. Noah's actually like kind of like super dense in like romance, and it's really charming to watch because I've been there so many times in my life.
The way because I attributed that to the they just don't have any concept of romance.
They don't have, like, that's why they bathe together, and like that is handled pretty well. It's like,
I think that is probably one of the strongest ironically, the bath scene is probably the strongest world building point in this entire game.
Because like they don't care, and like Uni covers up her cleavage because I don't know why. Maybe it's like instinctual for her, or maybe she was like taught like, hey, you should do this when you get into the bath. It's considered like etiquette or something like that. But yeah, no one cares. And it's really interesting. And then there's like entire side quests about in like the Teaches arc where it's like it just demonstrating how no one cares. And then they bring up like the fact that Lance is a machina, which is weird because he should be stronger. Like his body was built for strength. And then he says like, I want you to strip right now. And Lance is like, yeah, sure. Wait, why does that make me feel uncomfortable? Because it's their instincts coming back in, but they don't know it. And that's so interesting. That is so cool.
Yeah. I definitely think, yeah, it's funny because I definitely, you know, now that I've said that, I don't know if I can go back on that statement that the bath scene is the best moment of world building in this entire game.
It really is, honestly. It's subtle and it works.
It's subtle and it really works well. Again, I think story-wise, I think I've said this to you already, Owen, but Chapter 1 and 2 are probably the best paced in any Xenoblade game. Any Xeno game, full stop, I think.
Yeah, well, Chapter 1 and 2 is...
They are so tight. I think they are perfect.
Chapter 1 and 2, like, I know we were going to compare this game to Xenogears a lot, but Chapter 1 and 2 is basically the first half of the first disc of Xenogears done really well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the prison arc was moved significantly back, but it still gave us plenty of time to explore the opposing side. Really solid stuff. As soon as you leave Colony 4, the game starts like forgetting, like
you can just seemingly ignore the main story.
Yeah. But yeah, so favorite scenes in the game, Lands and Senna's moment was really good. Tying, like, actually all of like the quote unquote like couples in this game, like Lands and Senna, Uni and Tyon, Mio and Noah, I like how they're all very different dynamics, but they're all very good and very well developed.
Yeah, I think character-wise, we both agree that the dynamic between the characters is probably, I would argue it's one of the best in the series, actually. But I think I'm a bit more conflicted about whether I like these characters or not than you, Noah. Sorry, Owen. I called you Noah. Sorry.
I know. I'm a philosopher as well.
Because it's weird because I don't feel like many characters stand out on their own, but at the same time, it's hard to say you can really consider a character on their own in general, right? But well, like especially Noah and Mio, I feel like so much of their character relies on the existence of M and N, which to some degree they are the same character, but they're also not. And I don't think the vagueness of like oh, they're our regrets really helps.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But like I said, as Brian said, this is my favorite cast in general, but by virtue of how they bounce off each other. The dynamic is phenomenal. They bounce off each other so well. It's just as standalone characters, it's weird when you start to think about it that way. I think Owen had to go off somewhere.
Yeah, sorry, I'm asking when my roommates want to go to bed. Hold on, let me finish.
Yeah. Sure. But yeah, I've been questioning this for a while because I don't know how I feel about these characters. Personally speaking, it's just like, I don't feel like, I will say, until Chapter 5, I felt like Noah and Mio were just kind of there. Mio serving us as like a sort of urgency sort of thing, which didn't really help. I don't think it really came together as well when you have so much side content to do, you can just ignore the main story. Plus, they kind of accelerate the last bit for like the last month of it very quickly. You know?
Yeah.
But I will say, I think the game does a fantastic job at feeling like they are the main characters, the two like center main characters, but I don't feel like they did much with them except for chapter 5. Why are there bosses here? Sorry. I don't feel like they did much for those characters except for in chapter 5. And I feel like maybe Noah probably gets more development after chapter 5, but I feel like after Mio has her stuff in chapter 5, I don't feel like she does much. It's more, and especially her scenes in chapter 5 as well. They're all by M.
Right.
Though you could argue she's speaking for Mio's feelings, right?
Right.
And I think that's one interpretation I'm okay with, but at the same time, I'm also sitting here like, wait, then what did Mio do, right? But at the same time,
she warned the city.
Yeah, she warned the city. But while I think both Noah and Mio are kind of weak on their own, they stand out a lot when you have M and N and M in the picture. And then at the same time, I think this game does a great job at making it feel like there are 6 main characters rather than just one or two. That's the only thing I think, like, I wouldn't say it mitigates those criticisms, but I think it is. It fills a bit of the hole, you know?
It's an ensemble cast first and foremost, and
yes,
like I do feel like there are moments where like they try and make the development parts, especially for like some of the Agnes kids, because we didn't get to know them in the first prologue chapter. So like Tyon gets a lot of development, and Senna, they try and do stuff with her.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
I think Senna is such a weak character. I'm sorry. Let me put it this way. Her side story has more Gondor than Senna. The most we see Senna is in Segiti's side quest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, like I still think that Lands and Senna's like discussion is still like the strongest scene in the game, and I think that she has a lot of good dialogue throughout like some of the non-voice stuff. But I definitely agree in terms of the story, she's probably handled the weakest.
Yes, I probably agree with that. Yeah. Though my favorite scene is, what is my favorite scene? It's the baby scene from chapter 5. I fucking love that scene.
Yeah, it's a good scene. Tyon's reaction in particular makes me laugh.
He has a fucking Wind Waker sound effect and poking at a baby. That's fucking amazing.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's, again, there's are good scenes here. I also think that it's been 3 games, and the fact that this is the game that we get the kiss is earned.
I mean, earned. You know, I wasn't even thinking about the kiss. Like, I was more like, it didn't even register. And I still don't think it's even registered. I'm just like, oh, they kissed. Cool.
I think after 3 games of pretty good romance, all things considered, like, yeah, I felt like, yeah, they earned it. If I don't feel salty that it was used in this game compared to Xenoblade 2. I felt like they earned it.
Bravest fucking RPG in years, yeah.
Yeah, it was 100% worth it. Though the rest of that ending, though, what the hell is that?
You mean like with the worlds splitting? Okay,
so the game isn't very clear on like what the cast is actually trying to do with Origin, right? Noah says he wants to rip it up, like rip up the world, which with a weapon called the Sword of the End, sure, I could see that. But that's not what happens. And also, like, they're not very clear what the original intention of Origin was. I assumed it was like, the way they described it, it was when the 2 universes collide, there would be like an explosion, everything would fuse together, and all life would be wiped out, and then they'd like rebirth everyone. But that is apparently not what happened.
The way I interpreted it from like the discussion, like, you know, like Torah making Origin and all that, when Nia talked about that, and because they called it an arc, right? The way I thought it's everyone's going to be on the arc, and when the worlds fuse, anyone who's on the arc will be safe, or like it'll be protected because it's such a strong metal. That's how I interpreted it. But like, then
chapter one contradicts, like the very first cutscene in the game contradicts that.
True.
Because it's Melia's birthday, and all the kids are there, and then you look up into the sky, and then suddenly, boom, Agnes World.
True.
And also, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that last cutscene. Like, that is too vague for me.
Oh, like, yeah.
Are they reborn again, even though like they're free of like the tattoo? And like,
No, I think the way wait, I think what they was trying to say was the whole world of Xenoblade 3 was like, yes, it was like thousands of years, but in real world time, it was a few seconds. Like they just froze time because Zed took over everything and kept the world separate or whatever. Or like once the fuse, and then they had this concept of eternal continuum, and like people were afraid. It was just the collective thoughts of everyone in both worlds thinking, oh god, what's going to happen if the worlds fuse and all that, and they just froze time there.
Okay, I kind of get that, but why is baby Noah still alive?
Because time never continued until after Xenoblade 3 finished.
But then why does Noah exist, or why does any of the Noahs exist?
See,
this
is another thing I'm not super clear on. So, from what I understand, everyone who was alive during the world's collision, during when Zed, the concept, took over everything and wished for an eternity and stopped, and basically took over Origin and all that, and made this whole combined, meshed up world, right? Anyone who was alive then was sent into the cycle, right?
Right.
What I'm not sure about is how that works with people who are, say, older than, like, 20 years old, right? Or is it just everyone within that age group were being sent into the cycle? And the way I interpret the city people...
Why were Melia and Nia not put into the cycle?
Yeah, I'll
That's
get to that.
Question.
I think they're just special, I guess. And Poppy's also special, I guess. But like,
well, she's not a life form, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah, the way I interpreted the city people is the city people were separate to that system because people from Agnes and Kevis figured out how to have sex. That's the way I interpreted it. Like, how did all these people... And then, if that is, like, completely separate to that, when the world, like, go back to their original state and stay, and time resumes, what happens to all those people in the city? Like, they're part of this world. They were born into this world. They didn't exist in the previous world. You know?
Right.
That's how I interpreted it.
The ending is so confusing.
You know?
I genuinely expect them to release like a Perfect Works and to like have it explained, or maybe they'll put another explanation in a mech kit or something like that, because like they did in Xenoblade 2
with Siren. Oh god, yeah.
But like the thing is that like in Xenoblade 2, you don't need to know what the Savior Rebels are. You just need to know they are a bad force trying to take Zohar, right? In 3, like the entire everything that you were fighting for, everything that mattered, like they said they've been trying to say in very clear and very on-the-nose dialogue what they've been trying to fight for, it feels like it doesn't matter at the end.
On-the-nose dialogue. Future connected!
Everything is on the nose in the last chapter, honestly.
To be fair, I think the final boss is, like, really cool once Melia and Nia actually join, though. I
like the final boss, actually.
I don't like the first phase. I don't like the first phase at all. But everything else is fine.
I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that like it was handled well. I mean, like, it would suck for anyone who was like at level 70 and like just gets destroyed and then they have to redo that all.
I was at level 70 and I beat the boss first try.
Okay. I was level 76, so.
Yeah. No, my friend was 85 and she just lost. I don't know how.
The final boss is your favorite in the series? Disagree. I think I like Lao more in X than I like this boss. I think that
I like Malos the best still. I think partially because of his character, but also because it's the most not typical final boss of the series. It's not like, oh, JRPG fight a god at the end, or like, oh, we're fighting the... I guess Malos has more development time than Zed does.
I think Malos is a better character than all of them, but I still think I like Zanza the most.
Yeah, okay.
As a boss, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, so I recently published a tier list of all the Xenoblade characters, and on that, I had a list of characters I considered missed potential. And that is Rock from Xenoblade 2, and everyone else is from Xenoblade 3, and they're all villains. Chris is on there, Y is on there, Zed's on there. The kid that bullied Noah when he was a kid was on there because he was delegated to a side quest. Talk about a downgrade.
I kind of like that some of these, like, it's weird because I almost feel like if the side stories were like main story, we would have potentially had like 10 chapters in this game, right?
Yeah, this game feels short.
I mean, it doesn't feel short. It's because of how much side content there is, but like
the story feels short. Like there are so like to the point where like they don't need a list of cutscenes. They can just put them in like a picture gallery. Like there are so like I generally think there's only 6 hours of cutscenes in this game, which sounds like a lot, but like Xenoblade 2 is like yeah, there's like 6 hours of cutscenes.
No, there's 19 hours of cutscenes.
19? No, not counting side content.
No, not counting side content. The move, like the full movie of the game, main story, 19 hours.
Let me check this out.
At least that's what I looked up.
Let me see.
You gotta remember, like, there's a lot of in-between time between cutscenes, but a lot of those segments take a while.
I'm seeing 13 hours as a more consistent number, but that includes side stories.
Okay, interesting.
That includes side stories.
Interesting.
So I'm willing to bet we're probably looking at something more along the line of 9 hours, which is comparable to Xenoblade 2's, I guess.
No, Xenoblade 1 was 10 hours, Xenoblade 2 was 14 hours.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'll have to look into it more. I'm curious where I got that number of 19 hours from.
Well, the first video that comes up is 19 hours, but then every other one that's like a movie, that's like all cinematics, all cutscenes, is 13 hours.
Well, that also remember you can't really technically upload more than 12 hours to YouTube, so sometimes they're split into parts.
They're done by different people.
Okay. Gotcha. It can't be 6 hours like the entire chunk of Chapter 5 to end of Chapter 6 is 1 hour, 22 minutes. Yeah.
The point is, it definitely feels like, in terms of like actual story content, in terms of like the cinematics, it feels like there's the least amount compared in the series. Except maybe X, but X doesn't have a lot of cinematic stuff in it.
No, but X has a lot of voice side content, which this game also does have.
Yeah. But like X is a different, like, I don't like this. Even I don't like the story in X. I don't like a lot of things in X, but even I can admit that the story was not meant to be the focus in X. This is like, remember like what Xenoblade 2 is meant to be, and it was meant to be back to a character-driven, kind of like story-focused experience. And 3 naturally is trying to succeed on that, but it feels like it doesn't adapt why they went back to 2 in the first place.
Yeah, you were saying, I guess this is a good point to transition again. You were saying you found the side content the most appealing of this game.
100%. I do want to say a couple more things before we get to side content. I want to talk about villains.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Chris hurts me. Chris really hurt. Okay, so I would argue he's the coolest looking antagonist, quote unquote, in the game. I think he is visually striking. We were talking about like allusions to other characters. He looks like certain characters in Xenoblade 1, but obviously he's not. And I just think like the camera like puts a lot of focus on him in like chapter 1. We don't learn his name till chapter 5, and they expect us to care about him in chapter like 7. I don't know what they were thinking here. Because like with Jin in Xenoblade 2, they gave us like so many scenes of him being a good guy and talking to Nia and talking to Laura and Hayes and Malos and all those things before we actually had to start like fighting him for real. And same with Malos. We get none of that with Chris, and they just expect us to care. Like they shove all of Chris's backstory into a 5-minute cutscene and then expect us to care.
Yeah.
Maybe not 5 minutes, closer to 10 minutes, but still I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like 2 did this a bit with Amalthus, but I feel like 3 does a lot of last-minute character development for some of the villains. Oh, hey, Grant, welcome.
I would say Amalthus is better set up, actually.
Yeah, no, I think Amalthus was handled well, because, like, it was throughout the whole Chapter 9, right? But it was still,
Not even that. Like, from the minute you meet Amalthus, he's given comparisons to Malos.
True.
And
actually, that's true.
and he consistently exposits his nihilistic viewpoint of the world, and then there's like the scene of him like beating up a bandit that he healed and stuff like that, which is before his final like confrontation.
And he gets so much more like Torna as well.
And like there's the whole like cleansing the core crystals doctrine, which like implies that he changed the doctrine of the world so that way he could become more powerful and stuff like that. And like which that stuff you won't see till second playthrough, but it is there, and that's the important part. It is very prevalent no matter where you go. That is not the case for Chris or any villain in this game. The closest thing to a good villain that we have in this game is N, and N is just a weaker Groff.
Yeah. He is basically just Groff, not as good.
Brian says it's interesting because Akos, Mikhail, and Petroka aren't that great and are comparable to Chris. Yes, but Akos, Mikhail, and Petroka don't have ties to the main characters, and they have their own like dynamic between the party, right? Jin and Malice are obviously the best in that game. Akos is the best of the three, and they have their own dynamics and stuff like that. And like you kind of like see them as like these little snarky kind of guys that you really enjoy beating up and stuff like that. But Chris is like meant to be a sympathetic character who like is meant to like ties to the main character, but they don't do anything with it. That's like trying to do Egil, except you didn't have half the game to set him up.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
like boss fights.
It's weird because I think the scenes with Chris were directed really well. The actual cutscene direction, really, really well. Like you said, it's a lot of payoff without setup. I think they hit hard. The way the scenes were directed, the music, everything hit hard. But I didn't know why.
That was my consistent feeling with the game. Like there was the memes about like Chapter 5 and how it broke so many people. I felt nothing. Like I thought, wow, this is a really well-directed scene. Oh, this is so cool. They're using the moon motif that they set up early in the game. This is really neat. I turned into film critic eye. And like my first discussion was, do I just not like get emotional at games anymore? And then I remembered, no, I had just gotten emotional at a game that I had played a week before called Live Alive. So that's not the issue. The issue is I just don't care.
Yeah,
scenes are well.
I cared, but I don't think Chapter 5 hit as hard as like I was already like okay, my priorities is definitely lies with the music because I cried mostly to scenes with really good music. But like for instance, the baby scene, I cried. I think that was less because of the music, but because of how well they framed the concept of like babies as such a foreign concept, and seeing all these characters react to it just felt like a weight off my shoulders. Whereas this Chapter 5, I cried to the vocal song because it was a good song. And then after that, I was like kind of emotionally like spent for the rest of the thing. Like I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? I was still invested, but I didn't break or cry for any reason for the story. You know?
I never felt like the story was like I honestly didn't think Mia was in any danger. And
no, I didn't think Mia was in any danger either.
Yeah, like plot armor, and even if they did, like if they legitimately like killed her off, I would have like, wow, they did something I never thought they could have done before. Bravo, game. But of course, they're not brave enough to kill anything off in this game.
No. Like I think it's very obvious from like really early on. This game has like no missable content. Like with the way the affinity is based, the way all the classes work.
Not only does it have no missable content, but it's very well like there's no missable anything. Like characters like that die in the game aren't really that likable in my opinion, or have no development.
Yoran maybe being the only he's okay. Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. He wasn't the best, but he was okay. And they literally set up a villain of the week structure for the story, which when they started using it for like side quests, I'm like, okay, I like this. This is pretty neat.
When it's in main story, though.
When it's in main story or the side stories, it's weak. Y, I think, has a lot of potential, but they did nothing with him. I think X has a lot more potential than she could have done.
What the fuck was W's deal? I know this wasn't.
Don't know.
I know this wasn't main story, but like, why was there just a kid playing with dolls suddenly?
I don't know. And that's none of it matters. They're all like, the thing that bothered me the most was in chapter 2, when they were going to see off the consul that they killed, the first one, right? The first one, the one in Ethel's colony. They took off his mask, and I'm just like, why does this matter? And then likewise, when they revealed Dee's face, Dirk's, why does this matter?
Yeah.
This is why you can't.
The first console, I did kind of get why it mattered, because it was the whole thing. They're still grappling with the idea that people can age past like their 10th term, right?
But like with how slow the game appeared to be going, because like every game in the series has what I call the Gower Plain moment, where it's like probably the least interesting part of the story, but it's at the very beginning. I'm like, this has been going on for a very long time, and it's after chapter 2. I'm like, this feels like it's gone 1.5 times the amount of time that I was expecting it to go fast.
See, I disagree there, because I felt the Gower Plain sort of area of this game was chapter 3, right? Chapter 1 and 2, I think, were fantastic. Chapter 3 is like, oh, okay, here's the world, here's the side content.
Yeah.
Now slow down your pace, bitch.
Yeah, well, it's like not only but like you have the entirety of the A-tier region, which is pretty big. And then you have some of you have to go through like half of Fornus before you get to Colony 4. Well, not half of, like a quarter of it. And I'm like, okay, we got to be reaching the end, right? And the game's like, no, we're just starting.
I do think the chapter pacing is a little weird. Like, I'm surprised they didn't end the chapter at Ethel and Kamaravi, for instance, for chapter 4. Like, why? Like, I get that Keva's castle isn't necessarily, there aren't that many scenes there, but it's a whole dungeon, and you could have made the area a lot more interesting, right? And give more stuff to do there with the hovering reefs and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's and then Zed. I like Zed as a idea for a villain. I don't want to say concept because that bothers me. I think Zed, if they wanted to do a evil villain character, if they really wanted to play the story straight, which they mostly did, they needed like this evil villain character at the end of the story to be the final boss. I think Zed has enough charisma and enough like just energy to hold that position. It's when they start going into the persona category of like the representation of human like thing where I'm just like, and you lost me. Just make him an interesting villain.
Yeah, see, my interpretation of Zed, ironically, I feel like it might be a bit of meta commentary on like, I don't know if this is right, but like, there's two ways I spun it. Like, you know, with the like people making jokes about like Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 fans fighting and all that. I almost feel like that might have been the intention, especially with the last few scenes in the cinema. I don't think it was specifically aimed at Xenoblade 1 and 2 fans, but it was like people who keep enjoying the same media over and over, not wanting it to end, and all that, because we know Takahashi is like, he gets bored easily. He doesn't like sticking on the same thing for too long, right? So the way I interpreted that is him saying, you need to move on from this one series, try something new, or this one media franchise, because that's how the game felt framed. It felt like these consoles are watching for entertainment, and they don't want to move on. And that's what the whole message of the game is like, we need to not wish for eternity, we need to actually accept the future for what it is. And it's like, it's hard for me not to make parallels to another game that did a much more direct, meta sort of commentary on the state of the series, saying like, oh, we only made this third entry in the series because the fans wanted to. Like, it has all this build-up and then inconsistencies in the plot, and it basically, at the end, it's revealed to be a completely, like, this is, like, actually, the series is, like, fictional. It doesn't matter. We just made this game because the fans wanted it, and none of this actually matters. And that was
Yeah.
basically the ending of the game. I'm not going to mention the name of the game because that's kind of spoilery now that I've said all this much, but
I like Brian's comment here. Zed is a bit of a cake and eating it too. He's too defined to be just a concept, but not shown enough to be a super compelling villain. Yeah, I think he had like the makings of a super compelling villain. Like, I think he kind of sells the evil emperor, temptation, devil archetype very well, but they should have gone more into him as a person instead of trying to turn him into a persona villain.
yeah, no, I mean, Zed was interesting for me because I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
every time he showed
That
up,
is-
I'm like, okay, cool.
I think he was like, I liked him. I think he had a cool design, and I wanted to see where they were going with it. But any like charismatic emperor vibes, like at the emperor from wait, you've never seen Star Wars.
Well, I know the story.
Well, you don't know who the emperor from Star Wars is and why he works as a character.
I
Specifically
sort
in
of
episodes. Well, no, like in episode 6 specifically, and like when we had no other context for him as a villain, he worked super well as like this very temptation devil character, and Zed was kind of like building up to that, which
Yeah.
feels appropriate considering how many Star Wars references are in,
Zeno?
the Xeno series, just Xeno in general.
You said it
But
correctly.
then they started, yeah, but then they started going off. Yeah, this is why I never want to replay this game again, because I can't go through the story again. I just can't.
Just skip the cutscenes.
Yeah, maybe if I want to, maybe I'll speedrun it. I don't know. That might be fun. That actually might be fun.
I think, I don't know what the speedrun is, but I think when I first finished the game, I asked one Zeno speedrunner, and he was like, I was like, how long is this game looking from a speedrunner perspective? And he's like, oh, something, it kind of looks like 7 hours now. I'm like, okay.
And that's about what I expected. Xenoblade 2 got down to 6 at one point. So.
Yeah. 1 got pretty
Yeah.
short, isn't it like sub 5 or 4?
That's because the Wii version, you can clip through a wall.
Yeah.
So, and that basically just overpowers you for the rest of the game, and you just kind of run through it.
You can't do that in definitive. I know what you're
no,
talking about. It's Tephra Cave.
I don't know if they changed that or not. I feel like they fixed it. Anyways, yeah, I have issues with the story, and it's why I consider this game my 4th favorite Xeno game. And there's a big gap between Gears, which is my 3rd favorite, and this, which is my 4th favorite. It honestly feels more okay. Also, there is no, like, I know we talked about it not wanting a crossover, which it wasn't, so thank God. But there is no pushing of the meta commentary in any way in this game. It is literally just,
This is the setting.
yeah, like, no, like, the way that the game begins, or like the way Xenoblade 2 ends, bad way to say it, is the same way that Xenoblade 3 ends in terms of the state of the world. Nothing has changed.
Yeah. I mean, part of me was like, okay, I kind of, like, this is another thing I got from the ending. They wanted to reset the worlds to how they were originally to not destroy the endings of Xenoblade 1 and 2.
Yeah, I guess
That's
so, but,
another
like,
way I sort of interpreted it.
But this kind of goes back into like they don't want to kill anything off. I feel like they really didn't want to take too many risks with the story in this game. I think there just really aren't that many. There's a few. I'm not going to deny there's not. I feel like the ensemble cast in general was hard to get right, but they did it.
Yeah.
Everything else just feels very safe, and there's no big plot. Like Xenoblade 2 is very messy. It's a very messy game. The pacing is very messy.
I think
take so many...
I think we just want a messy game that's controversial that only we can like, right?
Kind of. That's why I love Gears so much. That's why,
that's a joke, by the way, but like,
yeah, it's
still.
a joke. But, like like flaws
That's what it
create,
feels like sometimes.
Flaws create personality, and like it shows like the passion that they had, and like in many ways, 2 definitely felt like Takahashi was really like, it was the first time he was allowed to go beyond his original vision for what Xeno was supposed to be, and like doing an after story. He's never done that before, and 2 was really, really good and took the series in bold new directions and stuff like that. And 3 just kind of plays it safe, and like it's like maybe if 3 came out before 2, I'd feel very differently, but you can't. I actually feel very similar about a certain other game I played this year. You can't pull the wool out of our eyes and then put it back. Once you remove the blindfold and have us exposed to the possibilities, you can't go back to playing it safe. You have to keep, I don't want to say upping the ante, but you have to like keep trying to be unpredictable in many ways.
I guess, I mean, I think for Xenoblade 2, Xenoblade 2 was interesting because it didn't have as many, like, plot twists that kind of was like, whoa, what the fuck kind of plot twist is one. But I think that was unexpected in its own way.
Its plot twists were localized in 2 areas, and it completely changed the genre of the fiction. Like, Xenoblade 1 changed the genre of the story. Xenoblade 2 changed the genre of the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think overall the story, I'm glad I went through it, but I don't want to ever do it again per se. And I don't think I'll ever do New Game Plus in this game. And I think, would I say that the story is a worthy successor to 1 and 2? Barely. I don't think it's a disappointment, but it could have been so much more.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird line where we're treading like we want, because it's not like we want more references to 1 and 2,
or Heroes or Saga. They
needed to do more.
I'm reminded of like how George Lucas makes movies. Like, I've been doing a lot of Star Wars research recently.
Right.
Sorry. He makes movies in inverse. So like the first movie, A New Hope, that he made, episode 4, was like a very traditional hero story. And then for episode 5, he flipped the entire thing on its head. So like the big end space battle was like at the very beginning, and it was on the ground, and everything was like very directly inverse. And then he inversed it again, and then he did that 3 more times for the prequels. And I think that's so interesting because it's familiar, yet it's completely different. It's using like the kind of set pieces, but you're turning them on their heads and making them feel different. And I feel like Xenoblade 2 does something very similar, where it's like, in terms of like, it feels very cheery, and it's more of like a hopeful adventure rather than a revenge-driven thing. And the evil robots come at the end rather than the beginning and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm sure I could do an analysis on that. It's probably not as 1-to-1, but like, Xenoblade 2 does kind of do some of that stuff. It twists what Xenoblade 1 was. Xenoblade 3 just kind of is. Xenoblade 2 is soul. I would agree with that.
I feel that's again. I feel like Xenoblade 3 truly was a Xenoblade game of all time, right?
Yes. It
just is.
I would say it's better than Torna on the side content and gameplay aspects alone. But I still think I like Torna's plot slightly more. But everything I just mentioned is like, there's a big gap between Xenoblade 3 and Gears, which then goes to 1, which then goes to 2. 2 is my favorite game of all time, and then Xenoblade 1, and then Xenogears for favorite Xeno games.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up how we generally thought of the story. I know you kind of talked about it more, but like, generally, like, I think I generally agree with most of what you say on the story.
I have thoughts. Yeah, I never want to play the story again, but I'm having a blast with the side content. So let's talk about that for like 10 minutes, and then I need to head out.
Yeah, and then I'll finish off the stream with a bit of music discussion, I guess. I'm gonna save most of that for my stream with RTG later, but
yeah. So, side content. So, okay. I say that the world building in this game sucks, because it does, but the colony system in this game is fantastic. Like, specifically, I was most impressed by the ways that the colonies interact with each other, because it was mostly following up on what Torna did, where it's like side quests include every party of the, like almost every, like some party members involve every member of the cast, plenty of voice stuff, like from like the Blade quest and 2 or whatnot, plenty of stuff there, but also like characters were interacting with each other. You have like, there's a colony relations chart, which has never been happening before. We've never had a Xeno game with more than 5 towns before, so it's never been justified. But like everything is like kind of comes together in this like big network that really makes you kind of appreciate like the community that they've created in this world, and like trying to bring these war-torn countries back together is honestly kind of beautiful by the end of it, and just like seeing all their relationships with everyone else. I don't know, I dug it a lot. It was really cool to me. And the unique monster hunt is probably one of the better parts of the series, because everything that you need in this game can kind of just be found in the game. You don't need to look up a wiki if you don't want to. Some parts will be harder, like the Arden Ranch and finding some of the super bosses, but generally, it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, I haven't had to really look up anything. There's been like one or two things I looked up just because I didn't want to bother with, like, I just have this one quest, let me get it done, right? But honestly, I feel the same about the side content. I think it's probably the best side content in the series since X. And Torna by virtue. I've always thought that X and Torna have the best side content, but revisiting Torna through someone else's Let's Play, I was watching them play through Torna, and I'm like, oh, a lot of this is kind of just padding, huh? Because they needed to pad out the DLC. I don't think that's bad, because I think the Torna side quests are fucking amazing, but it is like, oh, okay.
Just because it's required does not make it bad side content.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, I think I was thinking about this game's side content, and it's weird. When I was playing through the game, I had a lot of motivation to do all the side content. Once I beat the main story, I just lost motivation to do any of it. Like, I did finish it all. I'm glad I finished it all. But, like, any sort of motivation just kind of dissipated. I'm just like, okay, I'm just playing this game now. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the exact opposite, where, like, the story was kind of like the drag for me, and the side content was, like, the main reason I was coming to the game and the combat. So, like, once the main story was over, then we could get down to business and grind classes.
Yeah, I remember you saying at one point, even when you went to chapter 5, I'm like, I'm only progressing the story so I can have more side content to do.
Yeah, basically. Like, I ran out of things to do, so I went to do story so I could have more side content. Like, let me put it this way. When Mio rejoins the party in her fancy bodysuit that you never get for the rest of the game, the first thing I did was, how soon can I go do side content? And so I ran around.
He spent like 5 to 6 hours in the bodysuit.
Yeah, before the hair choice. And I was like, this is the best thing. And like, I think the outfit makes Mio look 10 times more attractive, personally. And I'm just like, yes, this is awesome. And then they take it away. I'm like, well, I'm glad I really got my value out of that.
Yeah, I was debating whether to tell him, like, go just next scene, just one more scene, and so you can, like, get the hair choice. But then I realized, oh, wait, he doesn't, like, he keeps the bodysuit, and he probably doesn't want to hear about it. Like, he doesn't want me urging him on to go, so I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna leave him to do his own thing. I'm guessing I'm grinding for the outfit in the challenge mode. Yeah, I reckon it'll be a DLC outfit.
I just want to say that I've been playing like Castlevania and stuff like that the last couple days, and I'm still playing Xenoblade 3, like, consistently. The only thing I have to grind for left is the gems, which is what I'm doing right now in the background of this stream. And I'm having the time of my life. I reached 200 hours last night. MB took longer to beat the main story than I did. He took like 140, 150. I think I only took 117.
I think it was 130 or so, yeah.
Yeah, I did 100 about 16 hours, but I had more side content done than him, and
because I think I focused. I don't know how much exploration you did, but I focused a lot on like filling in the map and like exploring everything, which I don't think you did.
I did a fair amount of exploration, but it wasn't like my main focus.
Yeah, no, because I found it very hard to like. I'll talk about this just briefly because I found it very hard to multitask in this game compared to other games. I did mention this before, but like. I had to, it's very hard to explore, do side content, and maybe a bit of main story at the same time, whereas Xenoblade 1, it's a lot more easier to do that. I feel Xenoblade 2 less so, but like with Xenoblade 1, even if I'm on the main story path, I notice like a collectible or an area I could go explore. In this game, it's like, I couldn't quickly get distracted by an area that I wanted to explore. I had to, if I wanted to explore, I had to dedicate time to exploring or dedicate time to doing side content. It felt impossible to do, or overwhelming, I'd say, is the word I'd use. It felt overwhelming to try and manage everything at the same time. I had to prioritize what I wanted to do.
I guess the way I went about it is I explored the world as I did side quests and all that, but I was actively looking for reasons to stop exploring. So if there was like an enemy that was like 10, 20 levels above me, all right, I'm gonna turn around and go back to walking the main path. Like, it helped me establish invisible boundaries that I could cross later. maybe I couldn't find a thing. I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep going. So I explored as much as I could within those rules. And I think that helped me get through it pretty quickly. But the point I was saying is that like MB had 15 more hours than me when we both finished the game. And he had the game. He's probably played this game more often than I did early on. I have long since overtaken him. I am at, let me check. I can check my hour count. I'm probably close to like 210 hours at this point. And I don't think that's ever stopping because I'm going to be grinding super bosses. And then when the challenge mode comes out, I'm going crazy on that. So the side content and the combat and everything is just so good that I can't help but love it. But like it's not enough to like, I still consider story to be the main course of these games. And it can't reach the echelons of what I consider Gears, Xenoblade 1 or Xenoblade 2 to be.
I mean, I wasn't ever expecting this to be a better experience. It was like, I feel like if you're setting your expectations to surpass what's already your favorite, I mean, I know you said you weren't really doing that as well, but like, the way I went into it is like, okay, this isn't going to be another Xenoblade 2. This isn't going to be another Xenoblade 1. This might be another Xenoblade X, but it probably won't be. So I was like, this needs, and that's partially why I avoided the previews, because I didn't really want to go in knowing what the experience will be like, right? I didn't know about interlinks. I didn't watch any trailers effectively.
Well, this will be my last thing I say on this before I have to head out.
Yeah.
But I guess I was kind of in the same boat, but like I've kind of like entered this era of like I trust Takahashi or like I trust Monolith, and generally I think they delivered on this game. I think the gameplay and side content is all very good. But like I remembered of like what I remember for Xenoblade 2, where it's like I was still actively hyped for it, but at the same time I was like, all right, calm down. It's probably not gonna be as good as Xenoblade 1, but it was. And so I'm like, okay, well, they're probably not gonna do that again, but I'm still expecting something in that pedigree, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite get there for me.
No, I feel that. Yeah. I feel that.
All right.
I mean, though I was a lot more pessimistic about it. I'm like, oh god, I'm probably not gonna like this game. If I don't like this game as much as the other Xenoblade games, what am I gonna do? That disappeared pretty quickly when I started, but yeah. If you have to head off, I'll quickly end off the stream on my own.
I'll listen to your last thing, and then I'll head off myself.
Well, yeah, my last thing was gonna be like, I really like the music in this game. I don't think it's quite as good as Xenoblade 2's soundtrack for me, but because the approach to composing is so different, I like it for different reasons. I'll probably go more into that when I actually go and do like a full like game rip listen through. I mean, I've been listening to it as we talk, right? It's been in the background of the stream. I just have the playlist up here, so we're listening to some music from the game, right? But I think I will probably talk more on the soundtrack when I do. I'm planning on doing it this weekend with RTG. Like, we're gonna listen through some of the music and we're gonna guess the composers and just talk about it, I think. But yes. Hey,
right.
Ben. I know who you are from the fucking profile picture. Tuning in to say that MB confused Erisy for Fallen Arm. Yes, I did.
Alright, I'm gonna head up.
But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Owen has to go. I'm probably gonna go chill and just fall asleep or something.
I'll let you handle the outro.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I'm glad we had this discussion finally. We've been wanting to do it for a little while, but we figured we'd wait till we both did like all the side content and super bosses.
Yeah. Alright. Thanks, guys.
See ya, Owen. Alright. Well, Owen's gone. It's just me. So if you don't like me, you can head off now. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for chatting, everyone. Important thing to mention, Rex best played MC. Yeah, I think he's the best main character in this series, I would say. That's my personal opinion, though. But yeah. Hey, it took 3.5 hours to get from Everblight Plain, walking at this speed, to the end of Mactha, the end of Pentalus. Not bad. Yeah, I feel like Xenoblade 2 is one of those games, every time I revisit it, my passion for it grows. Like, I appreciate it more the more I revisit it. Like, the cutscenes and, like, heart-to-hearts and all that. I don't feel that for Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade 1, once it's done, it's like, okay, that was really good. And I don't think my feelings towards that game have changed over time. Xenoblade 3, I'm very curious how it will develop over time because it was still very fresh off the game, right? So, Xenoblade 1 is an epic and Xenoblade 2 is a much more personal story, I think, is a good way to describe it. And Xenoblade 3 is a game of all time. I think I said this, it slightly nudges above Xenoblade 1 and 2 for me in terms of whether I like it more, but that's because I like it as a game. I think more than the story. I still think 2 has the best story, but I think if I had to pick favorites, this is my favorite because the atmosphere, the game, and everything just comes together so well. But yes, you can equate Xenoblade Discord to Dark Souls Discourse now. Is that better or worse than people fighting over Xenoblade 1 or 2? I don't know. My feelings on the ending are less cynical at the moment, but I'm holding out judgment for the DLC. Yeah, I mean, story-wise, I still don't feel I can really assess it in full until the DLC comes out, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with being critical of what we have at the moment. But yeah, I feel like, for me, it feels right to say I am the most critical of this game out of any Xenoblade game, but I still think it's my favorite. You know? I feel 2 didn't realize... You feel like 2 needed Torna. I don't feel that because I played the game and waited for Torna. And I didn't really feel Torna was that substantial to me. Like, I mean, I was spoiled for Torna. So that kind of took away some of the impact of Torna. A lot of the impact of Torna. But, yeah. Anyway, I should probably end off the stream. We're getting to a campsite. We're going to probably end here. I've been at it for 3 hours. I was expecting this stream to be at least 2 hours, but I'm surprised it went for like 3 to 4 hours. Torna's needed to make Mithra a better character. Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that one. Torna expanded this story without it being absolutely required. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, hello, Paroro. Oh, that is not Paroro. I wanted to, like, get rid of this icon. Please, let me... Okay. Honest to speak. Alright. Well, thank you so much for watching and listening to us ramble on about this game that I think we like, probably. I don't know how much of this I'll need to edit down for the quest clear upload, because I'm planning to I've been recording this. Planning to, probably edit this down into a shorter thing, so if you missed any of the discussion, it'll probably be a bit more concise in the upload later on. It won't go on for so long. But, yeah. Thanks for tuning into the stream, everyone, and I will... The next stream I want to do, because this is now... I have 2 more post-Xenoblade 3 streams planned. I need to ask someone to compile a list of, like, pre-release trailers and interviews that I want to go through, because I need to catch up on all of that still. Like, I want to see what everyone said, all the directors and everything said about the game before the game came out. I want to see how they presented the game in trailers. I think it's going to be an interesting stream to go through in hindsight, considering I watched none of those trailers leading up to release. I've seen stuff. It's not like it's coming as a surprise, so I guess it's sort of a reaction stream, but at the same time, it's more like I would consider it more of a, what's the word? Retrospective on stuff I haven't seen. There's not really a word for that, is there? And then after that, I'll have to dig through Xenoblade JP Twitter for most of it. Yeah, I can do that. I can definitely do that. Otherwise, the other stream I'm wanting to do is go through, I want to go through the soundtrack. I don't know if I'll listen through the entire soundtrack, but I definitely want to guess a bunch of composers on stream. I've already made tons of guesses in my playthrough, but I've changed some guesses. I have different ideas on who composed what, but I want to have, I've basically organized a spreadsheet of stuff where me and a friend, RTG, are going to go through the entire soundtrack, the entire game rip, and just kind of guess who composed what. By the way, I would not mind co-hosting any of those streams. Hey, actually, Brian, if you want to come on for the pre-release stuff, I think that'd be fun. I might do that tomorrow or the day after. I don't know if I have time for that, but yeah, the music one will happen this weekend. The other one we'll see. But yeah, if you want to come on for the other stream, I think that'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be great. Because again, I saw none of this, so it'll be interesting to like sort of react to it as well. But yeah, all right, sounds good. I'll let you know. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in for now. And I kind of don't want to end on the Kevis Castle music. I feel like this is not the most fitting music to end the stream on. It's also very quiet. I think that's better. But yeah, thanks so much for watching and listening, everyone. This VOD will stay up on my channel, but I'll probably edit it down so it's a bit more concise to listen to. I stuck around for the entire time. Yeah, at least this time it wasn't until fucking 3 a.m. in the morning for you, right? It's... Actually, are you PST or EST, Brian? I don't know. If you're EST, it might be 3 a.m. right now. I'll see you soon then. Alright, sure. Thanks, everyone. Oh! 2:38. Alright. Well, see you soon. I'll hit you up, Brian, and we'll see if we can organize the time for that other stream. Oh, yeah. We have a friend who got to the final boss at like 3 a.m. and lost. And then it's like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna go do side content for like the next day or three. I don't know how long he's gonna be on side content. But yeah, it's kind of suffering waiting for him to finish. But yeah, alright. See you later. Thanks so much for listening. I think this was a good stream. Zed took me 70 minutes and 74. I beat him, yeah, around the same time at level 70. But yeah, I need to scream. Alright. See ya. I don't know if I'll play some AI tonight or something. I might. I don't know. I'm kind of pooped. I don't know if I want to stream again today. I might want to do some other stuff. But yeah. Alright. See ya.